And good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Shaken Not Heard, a James Bond fan cast. I'm your host, Elliott Serrano. That there's my co-host, Dave Pino. How you doing, Dave?
I'm good. How are you?
I am friggin' excited. Remember how excited I was last week?
Yeah.
Take that, amp it up to like 11, and then you'll see where I am right now.
I'm excited too.
You're excited? I had a feeling you would be excited. I had a feeling.
For multiple reasons. For our guests, and also the fact that we've moved past the dreadful Pierce Brosnan era into the Daniel Craig era. Feels like the dawn of a new day.
Poor Pierce. Well, the dude's worth like $200 million. So why am I gonna, lament so much? So welcome, everyone. Welcome, Susan. Welcome, everyone who is tuning in, watching us on Facebook Live, on Twitch TV, as well as on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, Susan, thanks for coming back. Lehman, thanks for being with us. I'm really, really jazzed for tonight's episode for a lot of different reasons. Yes, we are getting into a new era. We're approaching the Daniel Craig era. And when we went into, when we decided to go into the Daniel Craig era, I'll tell you, I had so many people wanting to be a guest on this particular episode. It was this episode that it's this one and Skyfall. Those are the two that people who just, they want to be in on those. I'm going to be honest. The two guests we had today mean a lot to me just because, first, I think they're stand-up guys. I've known them for a while, kind of. Well, one more than the other. And I knew you would enjoy getting a chance to chat with them, considering your thing for that team on the South Side. So, a quick shout out to I think Mark Primiano is saying, "Hey, Dave, that Knives Out sweater really killing us here. Very, very nice, nice touch."
I found this at another Daniel Craig movie. I didn't even think about that.
I thought you were doing that on purpose. So say nice touch there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just realizing that now. I found this at Marshall's today for $20, and I specifically bought it because it reminded me of Chris Evans' sweater in that movie, which is outstanding.
Very good. But anyway, we're not going to be talking about Knives Out. Maybe we'll talk about Knives Out in the future when we get through Daniel Craig. Today we are going to talk about the movie Casino Royale. And for that, I'm going to hold off on the question that I normally ask you, Dave, because I know our guests. I could probably ask them the same question. Let me get into the intros real quick because I know folks are waiting to see them. First off, introducing to you, this guy was once voted one of the hottest geek guys of Chicago back in 2014, featured on Chicago Red Eye. I want to say when he got into the Geek Guys gallery, that launched him to stardom. I think even Robert Theder did a column on him, talking about how he was the most sought after talent in sports radio. None other than Connor McKnight.
Hello, fellas. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Congratulations to you two on this labor of love that is the show and the podcast and the live stream. You guys made it through some really bad movies to get to this one. I am so happy for you both.
We also made it through some really bad podcasts too.
You'll have that. They can't all be Dr. No, right? I mean, they can't all do what that movie did. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Well, thank you for being here. Because again, Connor, first off, we've known each other since you were one of the top geek guys. I remember when you were at the Score. Then you moved over to the Game at WGN, and then we got to hang out from time to time when I was on the Patty Vasquez show. I remember that one evening when you, Mark Carmen, and Lauren Lapka decided to just crash the WGN studios when we were on air at like 2 a.m, and it was a hell of a night. It was great seeing you, and I think I haven't seen you for quite some time.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It's been way too long. This pandemic, I don't wish it on anybody. I don't think we should do it again as a group. I think we probably vote that one down.
Oh, definitely. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you in person again sometime soon, especially since I know you've got we'll talk a little bit about some of your important life events. But we do have another guest. And again, also really excited to have him on. I don't know him as well as I know you, Connor. All I know is he is a hell of a follow on Twitter. Huge fan of his. When you would hear him doing Sox post games on the Score. I call him the ghost of White Sox post games past. Chris Rongey.
That's perfect. That's a perfect name for me. Hello, boys. I'm with Connor.
Hi, Chris Rongey.
Hi, guys. I also do not recommend a pandemic. It's not a thing that I would want to do again. So I think Connor and I have the exact same idea on this pandemic.
Yeah, pretty straight on that.
Yeah, 0 stars for this.
Real anti-pandemic. This podcast.
We are anti-pandemic.
Well, the problem is that now for the next pandemic, it can't be something as as unseeable as a virus. I mean, you got to go to zombie up after this. It's got to be zombies next.
Yeah. I maybe the next thing is an I Am Legend situation, or we're really eating each other and bleeding from our eyes, and then maybe people get the damn vaccine. Like I'll get the vaccine if it prevents me from bleeding from my eyes. Yeah.
The problem with all of these, we've all grown up watching these movies, right? And everybody watches these movies or the series like Walking Dead or even Bond, right? And we watch them and we go, I'm Bond, or I'm Rick. Or I'm Legend, right? You're not. You're the zombie. You're the first guy that gets turned into the zombie. Everybody watching it, you're the zombie. You don't make it out of this. You don't hit the timer by the time it hits 1 second. You are dead. You're not going to make it.
You wasted all that money on that arsenal getting ready for this because you're already dead. You're the first gone.
Right. And you got bit in the shoulder when you headed to the outhouse because you didn't check your 6. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
That is true, and add to that half the folks will say it's my right to go out and hang out with zombies. That's my freedoms. Don't infringe on my freedom.
Yes, sir, you're right. You are free to hang out with the zombies.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Enjoy.
Anyway, okay. So now that we're all in the room together, just for folks who are tuning in for the first time. Shaken Not Heard is a show where Bond fans of all different experiences and backgrounds and pretty much levels of obsession get together and talk about the Bond movies. We started with Dr. No and have worked our way through right now to Casino Royale. We were supposed to end with No Time to Die, but things got in the way. So if you want to see our No Time to Die review, you can go back into the archives on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can see that particular episode. But today we're talking about Casino Royale, again, jumping into the Daniel Craig era. FYI, I'm a big Bond the movie fan. Dave is my resident Bond expert. He's the uber Bond nerd. And I know Chris and Connor, you guys are more like me. You're more into the movies than anything else, I would guess. I'm sure maybe you've read a couple of the books or that. But there is the first question I want to ask before we start for this evening is, what are you drinking, fellas? Dave, we'll start with you.
You could probably take a guess what drink I made for this episode, right, Elliott?
Wait, hold on. You made a golden eye.
Yes, very appropriate. Right? No, I made the Vesper Martini, which is the kind of the signature Bond drink. There's a couple different ways to make it. I know he gives a very specific instructions in the movie. I tweaked it a little bit. There's a YouTube channel called Barfly Enthusiast that made some recommendations on how to actually improve the cocktail. And I was turned on to that by a buddy of mine named Tom Jetner. So shout out to him, who's also a Huge Sox fan, by the way, so I figured it'd be appropriate to mention him. So the specific instructions for this one are 2¼ ounces of Gordon's dry gin, 3/4 ounce of vodka, and I use Smirnoff because that's like the Bond vodka. ½ ounce of Coke Americano, 2 dashes of grapefruit bitters, and a lemon twist. Shaken, not stirred. Although in this movie, he doesn't give a damn about it. So.
That's right.
He doesn't give a damn about it. Which it's interesting that was apparently a line that Daniel Craig came up with, and was what essentially really got him the role. The fact that he was able to deliver it like that. That they loved that he did that.
Yeah.
Do I look like I care? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Well, he essentially, do I look like I give up bleep? And then they change it to damn in the movie. Yeah. How about you, Connor? What you drinking?
I have I had a little party of sorts last weekend, and one of the gifts I got was,
thanks for the invite.
Hey, anytime, Chris. Lovely to have you.
Awesome. I had a great time.
I know you did.
Yeah.
You always do. You can't keep him down. You know, you might go in there thinking I'm going to have a bad time. I'm not going to enjoy it. Nope. And then every time he walks out of there, great time. Had a great time. Unbelievable. I have the Bruichladdich. It's a new Scotch. I watched a documentary on Hulu called Scotch, and I thought to myself, well, I know what this is about. Probably Scotch. So I watched it mostly just to hear the music and the accents and the wind blow through the home country and whatnot. And I really enjoyed it. And it sold me on this Scotch. I was actually looking to get a nice little bottle for myself, maybe a Lagavulin 16, but this was something I hadn't had before, and it is very tasty. Very, very tasty.
How about you, Chris?
Well, I thought there's nothing better than coffee at 7 o'clock at night, so that's what I'm having right now. This is coffee with a cinnamon creamer. Leave me alone; it tastes great.
Before we came on air, I was asked what I was drinking. What I'm drinking here looks kind of dark. It's actually a black coffee rum.
Oh, yeah.
What I wanted to have was more along the lines of what you're having, Chris. I was considering having an Americano.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the first thing that James Bond drinks in the book Casino Royale. He has an Americano.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, and I thought.
So I'm not too far off topic. Okay,
no,
good.
You're not.
All right, great. I didn't know that. Yeah.
But unlike you, I've got to get up early in the morning. I can't.
I don't.
So I'm having this instead.
No, good. I feel like I was worried that, you all are going to be having whiskey or some sort of fancy beverage like Dave is having, martini. And I'm like, here I am with coffee when everybody else has to go to bed in 3 hours and I don't. So, let me live.
If anything I've learned is live and let
live. Yeah, that's right. This is no time to die.
Actually, he did find time to die. I mean, that's a misnomer. Oops, spoiler. I'm not gonna. Sorry. Anyway, before I get too far into things, and Connor, this is actually becoming a thing now on the show for folks who come on. It gives me a chance to reuse this graphic that I created every week. But I think congratulations are in order to Mr. Connor McKnight, who is going to be tying the knot.
I will be. I'm very excited. When I asked Chris Rongey, I wasn't sure what he'd say. And really, when I heard those words, I just, I felt like everything had kind of come together for me. So I felt really good. Thank you, though. Thank you. I appreciate it. My fiance and I get married in February and are very, very excited.
Congratulations. You're a good guy. I'm sure she's a good gal. I wish you many, many years of happiness.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope we get them too. That's the plan anyway. That's the plan. We signed up for those.
Excellent. All right, let's jump into the movie because I know that's what we've got all our niceties out of the way. Let's jump into things. And again, for those who have not watched this show before, we do like to take our perspective of each film. I'm assuming, did everyone here watch the movie recently?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, last week I actually watched it. I thought I should get a freshen up on it because it's been a while.
That's good because a lot of times with the way we remember it isn't always the way we'll experience it next
Yeah.
time around. So good one, Chris. But for those who don't watch the show, the first thing outside of the drink that I will ask Dave Pino when it comes to a Bond movie is it faithful to the book?
Yeah, it's faithful in the sense that probably the most memorable things about the movie come from the book. This was the first Fleming Bond book released in 1953. The reason it took so long to be filmed was because Ian Fleming actually sold the film rights to CBS in the 50s for $1,000. And it took many decades for the Bond film producers to reacquire those rights. Otherwise, it would probably have been the logical first book to film because the majority of it centers around a card game. So you probably wouldn't have to break the bank to film that plot. But most of the main ingredients from the film are there. You have Vesper Lynn, the romance between Bond and Vesper, the villain of Le Chiffre, Felix Leiter, the whole card game thing, the torture scene, which has now become like an iconic scene in the series. One big difference is obviously because this story was written in the 50s, they had to change some of the sort of geopolitical aspect of it since by the time the movie was produced, it's well over 50 years from the publication of the book. So instead of international terrorism, the book deals with the Soviets, which makes sense given this is the early 50s. So certain things were updated. But by and large, it's a really, I don't want to say terribly faithful. I mean, obviously, you jump ahead 50 years and have to adjust some things. And they do add a lot to beef up the story. One thing I should point out is the original book, even though it's the first book in the series, it's not an origin story in the way that Casino Royale is kind of an origin story. I mean, you see Bond becoming a 00 agent. That's really just the very beginning of the movie. And then it's just him at the start of his career as a 00 agent. But Bond is already kind of a seasoned agent at the time that the novel takes place.
Hello, Vicky. Welcome. Thanks for joining in. Susan says, congrats, Connor. Congrats on your upcoming nuptials. So
thank you, Susan.
From all of us.
Hey, Dave,
yeah.
Do they play Hold'em in the book, or is it a different card
that's
game?
Another big change. It's Baccarat.
It is.
Which is not really played so much anymore. By the time the movie comes around, poker, I think, is probably a more universally recognized game. And
yeah, I mean that's what I mean. You guys know, like when ESPN lost the rights to the NHL, they had to fill a season of hockey, right? I think I was freshman year of college or something like this. I think it's 2003, right? And they put the World Series of Poker on, and it became very popular in those next couple of years. So I always wondered if it was originally Hold'em, if Hold'em just films well. Does anybody understand what the hell the rules to Baccarat really are? Why are there no numbers on the cards? And what other game would you play? So I wondered if that was in Fleming's book or not.
Yeah, it is Baccarat, which Bond also plays at the start of Dr. No. But again, you're jumping ahead 50 years, so they had to update some things. So yeah, it's a great question.
I would agree, though, that it is easier. The storytelling part using Texas Hold'em or using poker, way easier. Because I remember watching the sequences during the movie where the dealer is showing the featured cards, who has what. And I myself, someone who I don't always understand the progression, like what hands are worth more than others in poker. Even then I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. But the Baccarat makes about as much sense as Sabacc to me in Star Wars. You know, how Han Solo is able to win the Millennium Falcon.
You didn't memorize all those words after playing after all those rules after playing Knights of the Old Republic, Elliott? You weren't doing turn base and then learning Sabacc.
I actually have two sets of Sabacc cards.
I know. I know.
Oh
my God.
One of those sets is coming your way as a wedding gift, my friend.
Yes.
Connor is a geek. I didn't know it.
Oh no, hardcore.
You weren't lying. Oh my God.
Hardcore.
I wonder you got that honor. Okay.
Yeah. There was some pretty hefty criteria, and
Yeah.
not many of them had to do with a level of attractiveness.
Yeah. All right.
Just
You.
have you read?
You, buddy.
How many times have you read Dune? Is it more than 3? Welcome to the list.
You've read that more than 3 times?
I finished reading it for a 3rd time before I went to go see the movie a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Holy hell. Okay.
It's a phenomenal book.
I believe you.
And I'm reading all of them now. I'm on Heretics of Dune right now, about I don't know, 7 or 8 chapters in, something like that.
Oh, very good. Very good.
It's funny that, mentioning that, and there is kind of a way that this conversation relates to Bond. I mean, if you ask me, I think James Bond, while he started as a literary character, really is more well known as a film character. And there's so much of the character that's evolved in the movies that while the seeds were planted in the books, I don't think would have happened if the movies just didn't keep going and going and going as they did. The case in point, this is funny because I've not read all the Bond books like Dave has, and I thought this time, let me do like Dave does. He always reads the book, right before he reviews the movie and checks out makes a comparison. And I started reading Casino Royale. It's a really breezy read, by the way, folks.
They're all short. They're all short stories.
Yeah, but my problem with it is that freaking Fleming has all that French dialogue in there, and I don't read French, and I sound like I'm trying to sound out the words, and I don't even sound like a freshman French student. It's just blah 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 in my head. So after a while, I say screw it. I just pick out my keywords where I can and just keep going. But yes, they are breezy reads. But Bond himself is a tad problematic. He's really sexist. Case in point.
So Sean Connery's perfect then.
Yeah, he was. He was. Because when you compare how when Bond meets Vesper for the first time in the book, as opposed to in the movie, when he meets her in the movie, they have this nice back and forth, and they're kind of flirtatious, and they're like psychoanalyzing each other, and you see that they're building the relationship for the rest of the film. Whereas in the book, Vesper just shows up with Mathis. He's automatically pissed looking at her, but then checks her out for a moment, thinks, she's pretty hot. But I'll say it. Fleming states it a little more eloquently, but the first thing that goes through Bond's mind as he's looking at Vesper is, she has a pretty face. I want to punch her in it. He literally wants to punch her in the face.
Yep.
Like, wow, that's a romance buddy right there.
Yeah, great.
Oh, I want to make one other observation about the difference from the book and the movie. You're talking about Sabak and losing winning vehicles in card games. In the movie, Bond drives an Aston Martin. The book, he drives a 1931 Bentley, which is like his pride and joy. He's, as he describes it, his only true hobby outside of his job is his car. And then the movies, they basically make the Aston Martin his signature car for the last 60 years, pretty much.
Well, now I got to Google what a 1931 Bentley looks like.
It's a cool looking car.
A car that he bought before the war too, and he kept through the war. So that's all fascinating stuff. All right, so let's jump into the movie and go into some of our overall opinions or statements. Give me your hot takes. We'll start with you, Chris. When you saw Casino Royale for the first time in a while, was it as good as you remember? Not as good? Was it the experience that that people always hype it up as, this is the Bond movie that you need people to see if they've never seen Bond before? What was your take?
Well, I thought it was a really good introduction for somebody as Bond who didn't fit the profile of the previous ones as much, and I like the fact that, I mean, again, I'm not an expert on the previous films. I've seen a handful of them. I've seen a few of the Pierce Brosnan ones. I think I saw one Roger Moore. I can't remember which one it was. And then a few of the Connery films, which my grandfather was really into Bond. So that's my only exposure to it, is seeing it with him a couple of times. And I always got the sense those guys were a little too clean, a little too perfect. And I felt like Daniel Craig, and for me, and maybe it's because it's a recency thing, but he happens to be my favorite of the Bonds. I've seen more of the movies, of course. It's more recent, but I like the fact he's terribly flawed. And I don't know if the other ones play the same way. Pierce Brosnan, to me, did not come off as somebody who was flawed. It was a little too, just a little too clean. And that to me isn't as interesting as what Bond is. So I thought this was a really nice introduction to him being a part of this mix. And watching that first film, I do remember thinking, oh, I like this direction. I like the way this feels. It's a little more rugged. It's a little grittier as compared to the others. And I was curious to see how the next number of films would go. And I think it just continued to go that way, especially when you get to the point, and I know we're not there yet, but when you get to the point where he's breaking down as an old guy, he just can't do the job anymore, and he's still trying to do it. And I know this most recent film, which I haven't seen yet, I understand the premise is kind of starts there, right? Doesn't it? That he's broken down. He was broken down in the last movie before that. And I like that. I like the fact there's this guy who's just so far from perfect, and he's been that way the entire time. So I thought it was a really nice turn the way these Bond movies went. And Casino Royale, fit that perfectly to me.
Connor?
Yeah, so I watched the movie this afternoon again, probably for the 30th time. My folks have had a cabin up north for years, and they've never gotten cable to it. So one of the 9 movies that are up there is Casino Royale. So it's just kind of, we've spun that disc a couple of times. I love this one. I think it's my favorite. I think it might be the best. I've got Daniel Craig as the best Bond. And like Chris, I was reading a little bit about some interviews that Craig gave either heading into the audition or casting kind of it or just out of it. He really wanted heading into the movie for it to be kind of this flawed Bond, this guy who makes some mistakes. Like you watch a Bond movie and, I haven't seen all of them. I'm with Chris. I haven't seen every single one of them, but I've seen a lot. Like I'm watching a Bond movie. I know it's going to all work out in the end for Bond, right? Like it's James Bond.
Yeah.
We know where this is going. But for the first time you watch this and it's like, holy hell, how's he going to get out of this thing with the defibrillator in the car? The lead's out. Like what's going to, this was such a cool take. He made it, he put you on the edge the entire time. And for no other reason than I just want to be the first to say it on the pod, this is also, without a doubt and with no equivocation, the best Bond song of all time, right? We're all cool with that? Chris Cornell just friggin' wails on this thing the entire way through. You don't have to chop in some weird Bond movie title thing into the lyrics. McCartney doesn't take some self-congratulatory bridge and go, what does it matter to you in Live or Let Die? This is a hardcore Bond song. This is by far the best.
Which one is the Radiohead one? Is it Skyfall?
They didn't do one. There was one they submitted for Skyfall, but
okay.
I think that's right.
Rejected.
Okay.
Skyfall's Adele, right?
I meant to say they submitted one for Spectre and it wasn't used.
Spectre. Okay.
Got it. All right.
Skyfall is Adele, but Radiohead did submit for Spectre, and if you ask me, that one it's good, but it is dark. Oh, it is dark. We're talking. Yeah. Make sure you have your therapist nearby by the time those opening credits are done. It's that dark.
It's one that diehard Radiohead fans like myself would really like, but a casual moviegoer
would hate it. Yeah,
it's very.
Once they got the Kid A, I think people were, the casual people were over it. And I if I remember, I know I've heard it. I can't think of what it sounds like, off the top of my head. But I do remember thinking this is about that Radiohead feel, that. These guys where are they? I don't know where they are, but I know it's good because they're them. So I know they know what they're doing, but it's one of those things I guess I just didn't really understand.
No.
Well, they're rolling around in their money right now because more people are listening to Radiohead while they're locked up. So, I will
Well,
agree that Chris, you know my name is really good. It's I would say it's probably the best of the Daniel Craig Bond themes, because then you follow up with Jack White and Alicia Keys and Quantum of Solace, and it's got a good drum beat to it, but the vocals are off. So
I don't think their voices complement each other well.
No, they didn't.
Like you would think, oh, Jack White's great.
Yeah.
Alicia Keys is great. The two of them together, it's going to be like a slam dunk, but it's not.
Honestly,
do you know that song, Chris? Because Chris is a huge Jack White fan.
I love Jack White. I know it happened. But I can't picture it. It's like I can't.
Another Way to Die is the name of the song.
Okay, you know what it is? I think it's that Jack White has such a unique way of singing that it just I don't know if he can do like partner with anybody. I think he sounds weird when he's singing with just about anybody else. Like I think he kind of has to be solo.
Yeah.
Well, it is a really good song. He brings a great feel to it. But yeah, right. Probably would have worked if he had done it on his own. Who knows?
Yeah.
Dave, you've seen. I know you really love this one. So
yeah, I do agree with Connor that it's you could definitely make the case it's the best Bond movie. It's definitely in my top 5, top 3, maybe. I've seen it a million times. I think it was a breath of fresh air from what they had been doing. As I've made quite clear, I wasn't a huge Pierce Brosnan fan. And I've come to realize it wasn't so much him as Bond, but he was getting some very subpar scripts. Although GoldenEye's great, but it was all kind of downhill after that. Daniel Craig's fantastic. It's a classic story. It's got some moments that have become, I think, iconic Bond moments. When the Aston Martin flips, does a million rolls, and just gets demolished down that country road. The torture scene, the pre-credit sequence in black and white when you see him getting his 2 kills that earn him 00 status. The whole parkour free running scene is fantastic. Just so many great scenes. I think Eva Green might be my favorite Bond girl. You really buy the chemistry between them, that he actually fell in love with her and she's a meaningful pursuit, as she describes, and not just kind of a disposable fling. It's beautiful locations. It's beautifully shot. A lot of wonderful globe trotting and great score, like you mentioned, Connor. A great theme song. And we get something that we didn't get in the previous movie, Die Another Day, where the melody of the theme song is woven into the score of the movie, which is something that defines really the classic Bond movies. John Barry, who did most of the scores from the very beginning to the end of the 80s, always did that so wonderfully. And you really don't get the Bond theme in this movie to the very end, where he shoots Mr. White. You see him approach with the 3-piece suit. And it's like at the end of the movie, he's earned it. At the start of the movie, he's not the Bond that we know and love just yet, but by the end, he's earned that theme. You only kind of hear hints of it, and then we finally get the full-on Bond theme at the end. So I thought that was really well done too.
See, what we were talking about earlier with him being imperfect and like really imperfect compared to the other Bonds, that relationship with her, and I don't recall, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't recall a time in another film where Bond was had by his love interest in the way this one got him. Like, you're right. I mean, he totally opened up to her and fell for her, and then she burned him. Like, burned him within 30 minutes of him, like, telling her what he felt about her, and she's like, oh, I gotta go to the bank. I'll see ya. And then she, like, nearly ruined his life. And you think about like, I'm watching this movie, and that was, to me, the first time I felt like, like a lady has gotten one over on him. This guy's a real screw up. Like, he's actually he's somebody who's almost a liability. And he spends the next several movies kind of, in a lot of ways, being a liability, but he always comes out on top because he's James Bond. But I think that relationship with her sort of signifies, or at least it's a really great illustration of what a massive screw up Daniel Craig is as Bond, but still he ends up finding a way to win. You know, like that, and that's what defines this movie for me and the ones that come after.
it introduces a really great point, Chris, but it does introduce an ongoing theme throughout the Daniel Craig films where they really need to establish why is it that Bond feels the way he does about women, why he keeps them at length. And then when he finally lets someone get close to him, what happens? And there is a real payoff to that in No Time to Die. In fact, it's a real emotional payoff in No Time to Die. I'm gonna tell you, there's a scene, you've seen it in the credits for the No Time to Die in the trailer, where Bond is in the car and he's shooting the guys around him. But that scene is part of a greater scene where Bond is in the middle of that. It's like he's in another one of those. God damn it! A woman did it to me again.
Yeah.
And I remember, and Chris, I don't want to spoil it for you because when you see it, you'll see where I'm coming from. But it'll be like you're like, he goes from let these guys kill me, I don't fucking care, to finally, okay, now I'm killing all you sons of bitches, So
I think
everyone's been burned by a woman. I mean, don't get me wrong, men burn women too. We do it to each other, but I totally, Chris, you relate to him being a screw up. I relate to him having trust issues. So there. Yeah,
and you know who he is, like Daniel Craig, the Daniel Craig Bond. And I'm thinking about this right now as we're talking. He's like the Alanis Morissette of spies, right? He's always getting in bad relationships. He's always getting burned by him. Doesn't write any music, but he's just like everything. Nothing works out.
Weirdly, I think isn't Dave Coulier rumored to be the next Bond villain?
Yeah, I think it is.
That's weird. What a weird coincidence.
No Time to Die is actually about him.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
And their exploits in the theater.
Yeah, right. Wait, what exploits are you talking about?
The exploits in a theater.
What do you mean?
Why does she say theater like that in the middle of the
Canadian.
song?
She's French Canadian, man. What do you
want?
That's
not Canadian. French Canadians don't say. No one says theater like that. Ethel Merman says it like theater. That's the only person that says theater.
I don't know. She recorded it on one take. I don't know.
Folks, I don't think we're ever going to reference Ethel Merman on this show ever again.
No. Why would you?
Brad Hansen, friend of the show and part of the Ultimate Bond cast, is on saying, "Hi, everyone. This is my all-time favorite Bond film, perhaps even my all-time favorite movie of any kind. Seen this one around 60 times, and it never gets old." Check out Brad Hansen's channel on YouTube, not only the Ultimate Bond cast, but also his great show on cars. He writes talk about the Bentley, talk about all the cars. If you're a car fanatic, check out Brad Hansen's YouTube channel. Again, and for me, there are a couple things when I watched this film, and I had issues with it the first time I saw it that for some reason I just didn't have this time around. If anything, the movie got better. The movie has been getting better each time I watch it. And I remember going, man, I don't remember it being this good. I remember it being good, but not so good because it runs a little long, if you ask me. And that bit at the end, kind of the epilogue after the death of Vesper Lind before the death, after the death of Vesper Lind, there's all this stuff going on. In fact, even that whole thing with them sinking a building in Venice, seemed like a bit much to me. But I was remembering, oh wait, the rules of Bond are you need to have a big, blowout. Something needs to collapse or blow up at the end of the movie. Yeah. And if it's just going to end with, Mr. White shooting Le Chiffre. I keep wanting to say Chiffre, but whatever. Le Chiffre,
yeah.
Then that seems really anticlimactic. And of course, you're setting up everything afterwards, which to me always felt like they were setting up Spectre. And I'm like, then I find out from Dave that they didn't even have the rights to Spectre until long after.
Yeah.
Just occurred to me real quick thinking about Le Chiffre. I think maybe he was infected by whatever happened in I Am Legend. That's what he had the bleeding eye.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
Mads
what happens
Mikkelsen?
in I Am Legend, correct? Like those people, their eyes start bleeding first, and then they turn into zombies.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The middle stage is expert poker player, and then zombie.
Correct. Well, until you get shot.
Yeah, well, then there's the shit.
By the way, what sort of like how does that have to feel? Like you are totally emasculating some other person by hitting him in the balls with a rope to torture him, and then you get shot in the middle of that. Like the last thing that man ever did was hit another guy in the nuts over and over again with a rope.
Yeah, but he went out doing what he loved, you know? So
I guess
hopefully we would all be that lucky.
Like who thinks of something like that? Like to me, I know we're talking about what the film means and the greater meaning and all that stuff. But the thing that absolutely sticks out the most to me in that movie, like there's one thing, and well, there are two things: the building sinking, because drowning has to be the worst way to go. At least it feels like it would be. I'm terrified of that, and that scene where some guy decides I'm going to cut the seat out of this chair, and this is a way I figured out to torture somebody. I'm going to strip him down to nothing. I'm going to make him sit in this chair, and then I'm going to hit him in the balls with this rope. Like that's a lot. That is a lot of thought that goes into that, and that scene sticks out for me more than anything else because it's so uncomfortable.
There is a YouTube video out where Daniel Craig, and you guys have probably seen it, and Mads Mikkelsen interview each other about their film careers.
I haven't seen it.
And one of the things they talk about is that torture scene. And that's apparently, Dave, check me if I'm wrong, but that is the torture scene in the book. It's a whip or a rope and not like a knot in the book or whatever. But that's the torture scene. It's sorry?
A carpet beater with the knot at the end. That's what he's using. Yeah, with the rope.
That sounds horrifying. I mean, just really terrible. But so they're talking about the scene and whatnot, and the first time they met and everything like that, and how much of a joy it was to do the scene together, despite the fact that this is what they're doing to one another. And my grandmother used to always say that, like, a movie is really only as good as the baddie. And I think that translates in a lot of Bond films, like whether it's the actual acting or the lines that you get, or just like the motivating factor behind Bond, right? Nobody gives a crap about Drax because he's in space and there are lasers and Jaws, and it's like, okay, fine, it's fine, just fine. Like Mads Mikkelsen is absolutely, in everything he does, he's absolutely fantastic, and he nailed this.
He's terrifying he's intimidating to look at.
Yep.
He's got one of those looks. Yeah.
And Chris, the moment that Mr. White walks into that room and you see Lashif go white, I mean, he's just like, oh my God, oh no, not like he loses it. It's the one time he loses composure in the whole movie is right there. And that's where, like you, Elliot, I'm thinking, okay, it has to be Spectre. It has to be something bigger than this. Why else would this, ultimate badass lose it over this guy coming in? Like, sure, he's got a gun, but he's faced down a barrel before. Like, this isn't new to him.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing up Mads Mikkelsen, because we talk a lot about the Bond movies being like 2-3 minutes into the future as far as the technology, as far as the themes, foreshadowing a lot of stuff that goes on in the world. This movie was also a few minutes in the future as far as casting, because they caught Mads Mikkelsen right there just as his star was going to launch. I mean, people knew him, but after this, you really knew him. This is before he does Hannibal for Bryan Singer on NBC, and that he becomes a megastar after that. And then, of course, everything Mads Mikkelsen is in, people just flock to it, and just perfect casting. I mean, I skipped ahead.
Rogue One?
I'm sorry.
Rogue One?
He's in Rogue One. Yeah,
Strange.
That's right.
Yes.
He takes the biggest plot hole in Star Wars and fills it nicely. When they do the whole thing about explaining why is it that if you shoot a proton torpedo down the shaft, the whole thing's going to blow up.
Right.
Oh.
But he's kind of cast against type in that because he's not the villain in it.
Right. He's the dad, right? He plays the girl's dad. Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
But when he has that one scene where he explains everything, it just, coming from him, it was like, oh, that makes perfect sense to me. Oh,
So that's that's another thing this movie I think does really well. Like all Bond films have a certain amount of exposition, right? Like these lines, like Austin Powers is a whole thing, right? It's Basil exposition, and he's going to tell you what has to happen in the story and all this kind of stuff. And every time you go to a movie and somebody's giving you exposition, and you're like, okay, I get this, I don't care. But this movie did a really good job of giving exposition lines to good actors. Like Judi Dench gives you 2 minutes of exposition and you're like, this is fine. It's Judi Dench. I'd watch her watch paint dry. This is fantastic. The dude who plays, what's his face? Mathis, the guy who plays Mathis, right? The Italian guy. He gives you the whole rundown. He's doing play-by-play of the poker game.
Right.
And it doesn't suck. Like, even if you know poker, you're like, okay, I get this. At least it's being given to me by a guy I want to hear say it. This is, it worked. Like, they got through all the exposition with the small exception of like 2 or 3 Felix Leiter lines where it's like, okay, buddy, move it along. You're like, this is great. This is cool. This is still a good movie.
But that's funny you say that, because one of the things that does stick out for me when I'm watching is every time the card game is going on and he's explaining things, I'm like, oh, this is the part where they explain things to the audience.
Exactly.
Like the only purpose of him telling her standing next to him what's going on the table is so we get it.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that sticks out to me, and for me it was noticeable. I think a lot of people probably just are watching and not thinking about that.
You have to like briefly suspend doubt that this brilliant, accountant, this numbers genius, Vesper Lynn, who works for the British effing government, doesn't know how odds and probability work in a 52 card game. Like this woman probably has a PhD, and this old Italian's like, let me tell you what these 3 jacks are gonna do for our guy Bond here.
He's mansplaining cards to her. That's what it actually feels like. But I'm like, I get it.
Yeah. That's one thing I struggle with in the novel is there's a couple chapters that are just the card game, and I don't know how the hell Baccarat works. So
I have no idea.
Glaze over reading these chapters until the game finally ends. Actually, the card game surprisingly does not account for much of the book compared to the movie. I think it ends well over under halfway through the book, and then you have everything where Vesper getting kidnapped, and then the torture scene and everything after that. But yeah, it's my eyes kind of glaze over at that point in the book.
Connor, you talk about that scene, that video when Mads and Daniel Craig interview each other. It is a great video.
It's great.
I will post it on the Facebook page for those who have not seen it. They talk about the torture scene and how Mads Mikkelsen was really nervous swinging that bit, and and Craig is saying, look, you got to make it convincing, man. You got to make it look convincing. I mean, he had a little padding under there, so it wasn't like he was really getting
No, I'm sure Daniel Craig's sack wasn't really hanging down from the chair while they were filming that.
But still,
I mean, he'd be like, you know what, guys, I know I get to be Bond, but I'm not doing this. Like, this is thank you for casting me, but I'm not doing all this.
Still, that thing coming whipping under my nuts, even though it's below me, I don't know.
Yeah, that's not good.
Okay, let's see. Brad chiming in again. As a poker player, I can tell you that Bond slow plays like a rock star, meaning he has great hands but doesn't play like their great hands. He lets everyone else do the big bets. I was fascinated with World Series of Poker. I will say when I would watch it, then I'd see like a lot of the folks. I've said one of the World Series of Poker champions, like one of the first women to win the whole thing, was on Colbert, and she was talking about that very thing, that you have to be willing to like lose big, really go in to get to the end to hit that big bit. So, but I would not have the cojones really to get in there and play with some of these folks. I'd be the one bleeding tears when I looked at, somebody else pulling out like a straight to the king or whatever. And I thought I had a winning hand. Judi Dench, you also mentioned, I loved, there was a funny little line. I don't know if anyone caught it. I mean, for those who saw GoldenEye, and then directed by Martin Campbell, by the way. Oh my goodness, I forgot to run the movie credits. That Judi Dench, who plays M in GoldenEye, she's M to Pierce Brosnan's James Bond, just as she stays on as M to Daniel Craig's Bond. In the beginning of GoldenEye, calls Pierce Brosnan's Bond a relic of the Cold War, and in the beginning of Casino Royale, goes, God, I miss the Cold War.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That's right.
The funny thing is this movie is a reboot, but they very kind of confusingly kept Judi Dench, which in hindsight I'm fine with because she's great. She's a great M. She's got great chemistry and banter with Daniel Craig. But for a very casual moviegoer or fan going in, it would certainly be confusing to try to understand this as a reboot. But for some reason, they have the same actress who played M in the previous 4 movies coming back in this one.
Do you guys remember when the movie came out that there was all this blowback on Daniel Craig for being a blonde Bond?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't really understand why at the time or whatever. I always figured that they kept Judi Dench. This is a thing that was in my head, so it's almost decidedly because it's probably not true. But like, I thought they kept Judi Dench because they were like, oh, it's a blonde Bond. Who's going to believe in a blonde Bond? Well, if we keep the same M, it's this imprimatur that it's you know, it's like a stamp of approval. It's like, no, we got it, it's fine. And we're going to let Judi Dench actually act this time around as opposed to giving her crappy lines like we did all throughout the entire Pierce Brosnan run. Like, I kind of dug it. I liked that it was, like, at the time I saw it as like the producers going, no, this is our guy and this is our cast and this is what we do. Let's roll. Here's Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little continuity there with her, which maybe is a good idea. If you're continuing a franchise, you want to have something that is familiar, maybe from the previous movies. I don't know. Maybe it's maybe or it could just be she's great. We don't give a shit. She's going to be on this thing because we like her, and that's perfectly fine too because she's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know, people are freaking out about the blonde Bond. Just wait till it's The Rock. Just wait. They're gonna get or Idris Elba. They're gonna lose. The idiots are gonna lose their minds over it.
I want The Rock to do a British accent. That'd be great. That's his next role.
I know he says he wants to, and I like The Rock, but absolutely not. I think he would be a terrible James Bond.
Dwayne The Rock, Knight of the Realm Johnson.
He's too damn big, first of all. You know, like it just wouldn't be believable. And I don't think he's a particularly good actor. And I think you should, if somebody's going to be Bond, I think they should have some subtlety to them. There should be an ability to deliver lines in a subtle way, and he can't do that. So that's why I think Elba would be great. I don't know if that's even still a reality that's been rumored forever. And you guys, you know, Dave, Elliott might know better than me. I would love that choice if they end up doing it down the road because he's great. I love him.
Idris Elba has already come out and said that. Brad, that's a great comment. The Rock would be a great henchman. Idris Elba would be a great M. That's true. You know, Elliott in the Dynamite comics, M is black, and Idris Elba has that commanding presence. He would be great. But Idris Elba has come out and said he's not going to be Bond, and I think outside of the whole race issue, which is a whole other topic, but I think he would be starting playing Bond at too old of an age.
Maybe.
It takes these movies now. It's not like the 60s, 70s, and 80s where they could get these movies out every other year. It takes them like 4 to 5 years to get these movies out. If you're going to start playing Bond when you're like
50,
how many are you realistically going to do before you eventually age out of the role? Maybe 2. So I think it seems like any time with maybe the possible exception of Pierce Brosnan, anytime there's that one guy that everyone gravitates towards and like tabs as being the next James Bond, he never winds up being that guy. Like nobody was picking Daniel Craig after Pierce Brosnan. He was not completely unknown, but he was on really not anyone's radar as, he's going to be the next Bond because he was so kind of such an out of the box choice compared to, you know, historically the types of guys they've gone after.
So I was doing a little reading going into this, and Elliott and Dave, you guys probably know, as I understand it, Brosnan got offered this movie initially, but he was looking for like 30 mil, and they wanted to make this kind of a dark and gritty origin story sort of thing. So they kind of like, they rethought about it. And the only actor that was really seriously considered to be Bond to start this new franchise was Is it Cavill or Cavill? The guy who played Superman, right? Henry Cavill.
Yes.
Yeah. He's English too.
But
right?
English or Welsh, one of the two.
Yeah.
But he was 22 at the time. And they were like, no, 22's too young. Daniel Craig was like 31, 32-ish. Brosnan was 53. So just from, since we're talking about that age standpoint thing, I thought it was interesting that like 22 was too young, although Henry would probably be still playing those roles if he was, still doing it or whatnot. But I thought it was the physicality of it is important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And talking about, Elba, and if one of the running themes of these last Bond movies, these last several, is that the guy's old, he's over the hill and he needs to retire. I guess you probably couldn't start a new Bond at like, start filming when he's 50. Like that. Didn't you guys just talk about how old Bond was?
Yeah. I've joked about that. If you look at what the movies tell you, the Daniel Craig movies, we never saw Daniel Craig in his prime. He's starting out as Bond in the first two movies.
Yeah.
Then he jumped to Skyfall, and he's like an old dog that needs to be put out to pasture. And, it's like, when did we actually see him at like the top of his game? Apparently never. And then you just get that again in Spectre and then No Time to Die. But we never actually saw like Daniel Craig's Goldfinger, where he's at like the peak. He was becoming Bond and then, passe, that sort of thing.
Henry Cavill himself said that when he was looking at the role of Bond or was offered the role of Bond, he was told he was out of shape, that he wasn't in the best shape for it, and that he had to learn a lot about nutrition and keeping himself in shape. Speaking as a guy now who is people know as Superman, and you saw the shape he was in for that.
Well, they also told they told Roger Moore he needed to lose weight and get a haircut when he was cast.
He was called. They said he was too tubby. Yes, Roger Moore.
And that's another point I was going to make. They made a huge deal about the blonde. Bond isn't blonde. Roger Moore was kind of blonde. Yeah. He wasn't dark haired like Connery or Brosnan or Timothy Dalton. He was kind of fair haired. So people must have a short memory when they were outraged at the Daniel Craig casting.
and with Henry Cavill, I recently started watching the Guy Ritchie film Man from U.N.C.L.E., starring Henry Cavill and what's his name?
Armie Hammer.
Armie Hammer.
Oh yeah, that guy.
He was also briefly cast as Batman in a Justice League movie that never happened.
No.
Yes.
Played the Lone Ranger too. He played the Lone Ranger in that Disney film opposite Johnny Depp as Tonto.
That was a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't crazy about Man from U.N.C.L.E. because we've talked about this previously on the show where I said, hey, why don't they make a Bond movie that's like a period piece in the 60s? And that'd be really cool. And Dave said, can't do it. Everybody else said, if you do it, it'd ruin it. And then I watched Man from U.N.C.L.E., which, yes, was a period piece from the 60s. And suddenly I realized they were right. It does not work. And Henry Cavill, as I guess, was a great Napoleon solo.
Yeah.
But I did not see Bond at all. I didn't. I mean, there were a couple scenes where he was supposed to be kind of badass. He's pointing a gun.
Yeah.
The camera like zooms in on his eyes. I'm like, no. So I'm marking Henry Cavill off the Bond list there.
Okay.
Susan recommends Regé Jean Page, if I remember correct. I think this is a person. He's
from
Bridgerton.
Bridgerton. Yeah. His is a
Yeah.
name that's been going around for James Bond, but
he's also recently cast in a I don't know what platform or channel it's going to be on, but a reboot of The Saint.
The Saint. So if he takes the Roger Moore route,
we'll
get to know him as a Saint and then move him into Bond.
Yeah, I was pushing for a while for Dan Stevens, who was what's some you know of some from things, Elliott, right? He was in the X-Men series on FX. What was it called?
Oh, he was Legion in whatever the hell that season was called. But yeah.
He was in what's the British show everyone loves?
You're describing I don't know how many British shows.
The Office.
The Office.
Yeah,
Right.
that's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
He was in
Downton Abbey.
That's
what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
Downtown Abbey. That's right. He's in Downtown Abbey. And then lost a ton of weight after Downtown Abbey to go play some cool. So I say Downtown. I shouldn't do that. Downton Abbey to go could do some other stuff, like some big stuff.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast he was in. But I think he's another guy where, depending how long it takes them to get going on the next one, he might kind of age out of the role fairly quickly.
Get the guy who played Gaston in the live action Beauty and the Beast. He'd be perfect for that.
Well, Luke Evans?
I was making a joke.
Yeah,
sure.
But no, he was another guy that was suggested for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But again, all these guys, when they start getting into like their mid-40s, I mean, that's a good age to play Bond. But if it's going to keep taking them nowadays, like 4 or 5 years to crank them out, how long are they going to be able to do it convincingly?
I think you got to take an unknown or at least a relatively unknown, right? I mean, like Lucas did it with Star Wars for the most part, and like it works there. You're not standing there watching like some of the apparently the people that were up for the Vesper Lind role that weren't Ava Green were like Angelina Jolie. I wrote them down: Charlize Theron, Naomi Watts, Scarlett Johansson, and it's like how is that actress going to work with this brand new unknown? But you got to kind of let them become this whole new role, right? Now, I haven't seen No Time to Die yet either, so I don't want to spoil it for myself by asking the question. But like, if we're doing a new Bond or someone who's not Bond in Bond movies or whatever, let them grow into that role. Like, scout and do your work.
Yeah, I've seen. I saw a list recently. They had Cillian Murphy on the list, which I don't know. I feel like
he's like
50, isn't he? Right yeah, he's like mid 40s. I don't know if I don't know if I like the look for him or the dude who played, and I can't think of his name, the actor's name, but he was on Game of Thrones.
Richard Madden?
Rob Stark. Yeah, that's it. Richard Madden. Yeah,
I can see that. We've brought that up before. He was asked. He was asked on the red carpet for Eternals about playing Bond, and his agent quickly was like, "Nah, we're gonna dodge that." Right. Yeah.
Well, because he was in that show, The Bodyguard, I think it's called. It's on Netflix, and he plays an agent, which I thought was pretty good. So I could see that happening, and he's got a little bit of recognition. You know, it's not over the top. But he's also not like a household name either. So it is somebody you could work into the role.
Another name, Jamie Dornan.
Oh, from
that's familiar. Why don't I know who that is?
50 Shades of Grey. Some of your favorite books, I know.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that stuff.
I know you do.
Just dominating other people. Is that what happens in the books? He's just
you're the one who's read them. I don't yeah.
But she wants it. She likes it.
Oh yeah. She wants.
I don't know. I don't know what women want. That's unlike the Mel Gibson movie where I guess he could figure it out. But anyway,
you can hear their thoughts.
All I know is I don't want to hear what they're thinking when I walk into a room.
I don't want to hear what Mel Gibson's thinking when I walk into a room. That's for sure.
Well, not now. Not now.
I have a hard pass on that.
Yeah, it's probably terribly anti-Semitic or something.
Or maybe I just do know. I mean, I know it already.
Yeah, you know, because you left it on a voicemail.
Out loud.
Yeah.
He said all the things out loud. We're good.
Yeah, he's not too worried about it.
But yeah, Richard Madden, I think would be pretty good. I have a feeling his name's going to come up again. Hence why they were like, "Well, no, we're not talking about that. We're moving on to the next thing."
And he's in like his mid-30s, so if they get it going in the next few years, he'd still be young enough where he could start and play him for at least a couple films.
Yeah, and you could get the people who are casual Bond people. You could get the Game of Thrones people who are still itching for people from that show to be in stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you'll get those folks to get on board too.
Then he's, because he's done Game of Thrones. He's in Marvel with Eternals.
Right.
It's nothing new. You've already had crossover between Marvel and James Bond as well. The gal who plays Nomi in No Time to Die is in
Oh, Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. So
That's right.
It's like these studio folks, these casting agencies know all the same folks. They said, "Oh, well, we know you here. You'll fit over here." In fact, hey, are you really good at acting in front of a green screen? Well, here, look, we have a job for you. So, yeah,
that's another thing about Casino Royale that makes it one of the best Bonds, right? Like, there's not a lot of CG. These are practical effects. They wrecked three $300,000 cars to get that Aston Martin spin scene working, right? That's $1 million on one scene plus the overtime, right? Like, this is they took some wires out probably, and then the building that sinks probably CG too. I just watched for the first time like 2 weeks ago. What's the not No Time to Die, but the one that Spectre? Is it Spectre? Is that the
That's the last one before? Yeah.
So much CG in there, and some of it just doesn't hold up, and that's not Bond the way I want to. Like Chris said at the very start, like, I want to see mistakes and I want to see it real. Like, I'd rather it feel more like an Indiana Jones flick than something that's so heavily computer generated, something that's so heavily drawn.
Right.
Like a Shang-Chi.
Oh God.
You didn't like Shang-Chi?
No, the first 45 minutes were fine. And then it was just like, here's a computer graphic dragon. Did we tell you about the dragon before this? We did not. But we think you'll enjoy this new dragon.
Why do you hate the dragon so much? There's nothing wrong with the dragon. It was some.
I feel like I just explained it. It was
Why?
It wasn't there, and then they made it out of computers. He didn't say it.
So do they have to tell you at the beginning of the movie, hey, there's going to be a dragon later?
Yeah, I want an Italian guy explaining to me how poker works and where this dragon came from. Where the hell does dragon come from? And I want an Italian guy doing it over a cigarette.
Hope that dragon doesn't pop out of that lake later. Is that what you want, Connor?
It hasn't happened for years. No dragon has come out of that lake at all.
I didn't know you had such hatred for CGI dragons.
Yeah.
Next time use real dragons.
Next time use real dragons. Am I asking too much? I'm a moviegoer. I paid $15 for these seats. All I want to see is a real dragon blow away an actual god on the middle of my IMAX screen. I don't feel like that's too much.
That'd be a hell of a story.
I'd pay $22.
Look, I think they were ready to do that, but remember, production was shut down by COVID in the middle.
That's right.
The dragon said, "I only have so much time on my schedule."
Right.
God said, "I
refuse to be vaccinated." Yeah, so it's just that whole
What are you gonna do? Speaking.
Hey.
Oh yes. Oh, and Mark Primiano says, "Hey, let's get Dave Bautista."
Oh yeah, Dave Bautista. Yeah, that's right.
He
got his ass beat on the train. Was that Spectre? No, that was Skyfall.
Blue Line. It was the Blue Line.
It was the Blue Line. Yeah, which movie was that?
Spectre.
Spectre. Yeah, it was Spectre.
Mr. Hinks.
He had the iron thumbnails. He was Jaws. He was Jaws' cousin because he had iron thumbnails and Jaws had iron teeth.
Yeah, and both of them didn't really speak, so it must be a family trait.
Not even a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're Knick-Knack, who wouldn't stop talking.
Yeah.
But all the James Bond henchmen don't talk. None of them talk. So
you don't need to get to know them. They're just going to die anyway. They're a means to an end.
Well, no, but Knick-Knack doesn't die. He survives, and then there's from the baddie in Live and Let Die also survives to the end.
Baron Samedi. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the last thing you see in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An interesting point. Going back to Casino Royale, as I was watching it again, and I knowing the rules of Bond in my head, Chris and Connor, I'm not sure if you know this, that there's what you call the sacrificial lamb. There's always a Bond girl that he beds.
Yeah.
But she dies later.
Right.
And in this case, you had the character of Solange, played by Caterina Marino. Very attractive woman.
Hates her husband.
The husband, right?
Yeah.
But technically Bond does not bed her.
That's correct.
He takes her back to his room. They make out for a bit. They roll around on the floor. Things are about to get hot and heavy until her husband calls and reveals that he's getting on a plane to Miami. At that point, he drops her and leaves. So I'm like, it seemed kind of harsh that she gets killed and she doesn't even get to spend the night in Bondland. It's like so unfair for her.
He's just ruining lives. He's ruining a lot of lives along the way as he's trying to save the world.
Well, there's even a moment like that in Quantum of Solace where the villain says he's kind of goading Bond, and he says everything you touch seems to wither and die. And he's not wrong.
No, right. I told you, he's a liability. I said it earlier. James Bond, especially this one, is a liability.
He ordered champagne and caviar for one and left it there in the hotel room.
And that was nice. He's like, I'm about to leave. Enjoy this champagne and caviar, and then dying in the hammock later. It's not going to be a great night for you, but you don't know that.
Which brings me to think, okay, when we're reimagining Bond now, I never understood why women always went for him. I mean, okay, so let's think about in the Daniel Craig version, we see him come out of the water. I mean, the dude's in great shape. He's cut. I guess some women go for that.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't, I guess. I myself thought King of Queens,
Kevin, what's his face?
Kevin James is the next Bond.
Kevin James.
Yeah. Kevin James is the next Bond.
I heard the Kevin James look was it.
Stephen Merchant as the next Bond would do really well for me. Just a tall, angular, very thin.
Let me just
Bond.
explain, just real quick. Let me say it.
A lot of questions about your motives as a bad guy. That'd be good for me.
But why is it that the women were just falling over this dude? I mean, I've made this joke that I don't know who's in movies. It's like so many guys want to be. When it comes to movies, so many guys want to be one of two guys. They either want to be James Bond or they want to be the guy who delivers pizzas in a porno. Okay, because
of the hole in the pizza box.
Everything, the whole of the pizza box. They never have money to pay you back to pay for the pizza, so they have to compensate you another way.
Right.
So it's like, but I will never. Yeah, that's that. I know. It's
credit card.
You would think they would have Venmo.
Is that how? Is that? It's not credit card.
Well, there's a thing called a credit. There's a thing called a credit card. That's not actually a credit card that they can do. Is that what you're talking about?
You brought it up. I haven't seen these pizzas.
I don't think this. I don't think this is. I don't think we should be talking about this.
That's probably fair. We're gonna go get a little more scotch.
No, but you know what it is about Bond? It's because he's in good shape. Right? Are you talking about the Craig Bond, or are you talking about all of James Bond?
Well, I'll focus on the Craig Bond to start, but I mean all of the Bonds. It seemed like it's like when you see enough of these movies, you just accept that women are going to fall over him. That he's just going to, if he sees a woman. I mean, Roger Moore was basically undressing women, right off the bat. Which, when I was young, thinking, oh, he's pretty suave, and then as I got older, I go, oh, that's kind of creepy,
I think it's very simple. He's in good shape. He's fairly attractive. He's got a rugged look to him, so he looks like maybe he could protect you. He's always well dressed. He probably smells good too. And look at those eyes, man. Look at Daniel Craig's eyes. They're something. And I think that's what it is. It's all those, and he's confident. There's an extreme confidence there. And that might be the most attractive thing, to be honest. Like, he doesn't ever act like, oh, I'm so sorry, excuse me. Like, never. He's always assertive, and not in a bad way. Maybe sometimes, but I just think it's the confidence.
No, I think you're right, because even the scene like late in the movie where he's like rehabbing in the chair with a shawl over his legs, like Professor X, like there's a scene where she goes, "You put your armor back on," right? Or the line where she goes, "You put your armor back on," and you see Bond waver, right? Like you see he bears his soul, but it's assertive in nature, right? This is how Bond is, even when he's got it on his sleeve. He's kind of pronouncing it, and he goes, "You've stripped it from me," right? And there's not a lot of hesitation to the line. there's no wavering there. He just kind of like delivers it. He's ready to say it. Like that's that confidence. I think, Chris, that's even there in moments of his own, if it's not doubt, then it's self-assessment, right?
I think that's exactly what it is. He's just confidence is one of the single most attractive traits. And clearly James Bond from start to finish has that. Like sometimes it's misogynistic, but maybe not so much anymore, but it definitely used to be. But still there's always an underlying confidence which does it for people.
Plus he's a little damaged.
And he's you got to fix the bird. You got to bring the bird back to life. Yeah, that's right.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
That even makes that point to Solange as they're making out. And she goes, "Oh, why can't more guys be like you? Why can't the good guys be like you? Because then I wouldn't be good, So
that's it, man.
They like the bad boys.
Yeah. Always good. It always pays to be a bad person. Is what I get from Bond movies.
I thought you were going to say the radio business.
Oh, that too. Yeah, that's
right. All right. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the song. You Know My Name. Written lyrics, score written by David Arnold and with sung by Chris Cornell. And I found it really interesting that when you're relaunching Bond, that you decide to go with a male voice. If you ask me, I think the more iconic Bond themes always have a very deep, brassy female voice associated with them. Wonder if you guys had any thoughts.
Live and Let Die. That might be the exception.
Well, Live and Let Die, I know Connor doesn't care for it, but it's it's like my favorite. I mean, my top two are Live and Let Die and View to a Kill. Yeah, View to a Kill, horrible film, I guess, but kick-ass theme song. And by the way, if you look up Duran Duran on YouTube or at one of their concerts, they do a James Bond symphonic tribute to
John Barry,
and then they do like this orchestral version of of View to a Kill, which is really cool. Let's see. Oh, wait, here we go. Brad, of course. I can always count on Brad to chime in. You Know My Name has two very different versions, a single, longer with less brass, and the film version. The single was released well before the movie and was never into it, but watching the movie with the film version, loved it. I feel that way about the Billie Eilish theme for No Time to Die. When I heard it the first time, I was like, I don't know if this works, but they must have done something to it when the film version came out. I have not heard the single version of You Know My Name.
It's not good.
That one.
It's
even though the one in the movie sounds more like a Bond movie or Bond theme because it's got the a lot more brass and the more orchestral sound. But I like the Chris Cornell's single version much better.
One of the things, Dave, you brought up earlier is that like throughout the whole score, right? You don't get the Bond theme really until the release, until he is Bond, right? At the very end of the movie. Yeah. I think the song, at least the movie version, kind of does the same thing. Like, I'm pretty sure Derek Watkins, who's the trumpet player on almost all of the Bond films, I think all the way up, I think he died somewhat recently or stopped playing for them. Like, that trumpet stuff that you hear in Bond is impossible to play. It's so high and it's really, really difficult. Watkins is one of the guys that does that. And he's on that version, I think, of the Cornell theme song. So it feels like Bond because Derek Watkins, who played from Dr. No all the way up until like the last two movies, is just wailing away on this thing and does the same thing throughout the entire movie and finally gives you that little James Bond theme at the end. You're like, all right, there we go. Let's go. We've made a new Bond, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit that I didn't know. Like the same trumpet player in all of these movies, every single one of them. So this person is like the only thing that is like the constant in every Bond film.
Musically, I'm pretty sure Dave and Elliott know more, but I think Watkins played on every Bond film up to either the last one or Spectre, the one before.
Wow.
My brother's a music director, and he's got a huge a thing for Derek Watkins just because of what he's able to do. Like, trumpet players can't hit those notes and hold them and then go up again the way he does. Like, he is a superhero in the whole land.
Yeah, I think he actually died about 10 years ago, but he did the vast majority of the film. Yeah.
I mean, we are talking like it was almost 2 years between No Time to Die when it was finished and when it was actually released. There's a lot. The time has compressed so much over this pandemic. Things that
it has.
I'm gonna be like, oh wait, that happened last year. No, dude, that was like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
I mean, the first trailer or teaser for No Time to Die was like 2019 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's been such a long time.
The span of time between Spectre and when No Time to Die finally came out is just 1 year longer than Pierce Brosnan's entire tenure as Bond.
Wow.
Which was
whoa.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I still got y'all beat. I have to wait freaking 10 years for my Indiana Jones sequels. So
yes, you do.
Oh wow, I didn't know that either.
And they're pushing back. They pushed I was supposed to get one in July of 2022, and they're pushing it back all the way to 2023.
Well, but the difference is nobody expects them to do more. Anytime there's an announcement, they're doing a new Indiana Jones, whereas you always expect there's going to be a new Bond movie.
Yeah.
Whereas when there's a new Indiana Jones, it's like a surprise.
Oh no, I think Bond is going to be like SNL, where it's going to be around until all of us are dead and beyond. Yes. Like, they're just going to continue to make Bond movies forever, which for me, totally fine, because you can still make something unique every time, and we get enough action movies as it is, but this is different. And you can do something different, and you can keep a story running, even if you have different characters or different actors. So I like that. I like knowing that there are going to be Bond movies until I'm gone.
Yeah.
Well, can Bond work if they take out certain elements of him that are just so, I want to say, popular? I mean, first, let's talk about the womanizing. I've had friends of mine who weren't terribly crazy about No Time to Die because they didn't like the way Bond was in this one. He was, and that they want him to go back to his womanizing ways. They want him to, I guess we want Bond back to betting people and shooting bad guys. Will that work though, moving forward?
There's a large swath between sexual assault, which is featured in a handful of Bond movies, prior to, I mean, it just is like, it is, right? The whole scene in the barn in Goldfinger, brother, that's assault. Like, you can't do that. But there's a large swath being like, Bond can be an ass without being a criminal, right? Well, you can make that character.
Yeah. You just be charming. Charm works.
Yeah, there's a way of being like a charming jerk, right? That can happen.
Hey, Connor, trust me, I know.
Nice tip in. Nice tip in there. I have heard this. I have heard stories of Chris Rongey. That's for sure.
What the hell does that mean?
I've heard
charming.
He's not talking about assault.
No, not assault.
I don't do assault.
No, not assault.
Okay, all right.
No,
I'm just
charming.
I'm the charming dick. That's fine.
Well, hey, yes, and you know what? And you never tried to pass yourself off as a twin. Like Zach,
a Minnesota twin.
No, like you heard the Zach Zaidman story, where he was at a twin convention.
Do I?
Zach Zaidman went to a twin convention?
We just happened to be at a twin convention. Am I saying something that you guys haven't heard? I've heard this story.
No, I don't think I've heard this one. I don't think I've heard this one.
Are you talking about the Minnesota Twins?
No, they were actual twins.
Twins. Okay, all right.
So,
I don't know if I know this.
Okay, he was at a thing, and he met some gal in the hotel, and apparently it wasn't going very well. Went back to his room, came back, changed his clothes, came back, said he was his own twin brother, and took all the intel he got from the first time through.
Come on,
make a better impression the next time through.
If I don't know if that's true or not, I don't think I've ever heard this, but holy crap, that's something. That is.
I'll tell you the first thing I'm asking Zach next time I see him.
I don't think I've ever heard that story.
That's amazing.
Amazing. This is not going well. I'm blowing it. I am blowing it with everybody. Let me go change into somebody else.
I got one out here, and I'm gonna take it.
That's awesome. Oh God.
That's
what
like a James Bond move right there.
What was his twins' name? Was it Zach and like Zebediah? Because there's no way a mom names somebody Zach Zaidman and doesn't also go with another Z.
Zeke.
Yeah.
Zeke
Zaidman.
Zaidman. Yeah. That's fantastic. I got to find out about that.
Yeah, you gotta find.
That's awesome.
You find out. I'm telling you, heard it here. I'm shaking not heard.
So I am awkward. Let me go change into new clothing. Just great.
But brilliant. And the fact is, he committed to it and he made it work.
Good for him.
I mean, to think, I don't know. I could never pull that off.
That wasn't me. That was my evil twin brother. Sorry about him.
He's such a jerk sometimes. I try to tell him he needs to be better. I tell him, be better.
You know what? You won't see him for the rest of the convention. I promise.
Yeah. No. I made sure that he left. He's on the way home. Yeah.
Set him on the flight home.
I'm so upset with him.
And he's not welcome back to another one of these.
No. And you know what? Never a family function ever again. So if we get married, you'll never see him.
If we get married, he'll probably die.
Yeah. Oh, wait. I just found out my brother's dead. So
that's it. He kicked it. That was
never
it.
Have to see him
the
again.
Text I was waiting for.
Yep. All right. Want to go out?
I want to know what kind of activities they do at twin conventions.
I could be wrong about the twin convention. All I do know is that he did pretend to be his own twin brother, which would seem to me there had to be a plethora of twins around for him to actually sell it.
I really want you to have misheard Elliott, and he was literally at a Minnesota
Twins
convention.
Yeah.
It was like Zach and Lou Ford, and they're like hanging out doing a thing, and Brad Radke's at the podium talking, but then Zach also invents the new twin alibi for the woman he's seeing.
I love the idea of him walking in with a Twins hat and jersey, walking into the ballroom, looking around, going, "Oh, twins!
Should have known."
I get it.
Or a Minnesota Twins convention only for fans who are twins.
Also twins.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's meta.
Danny DeVito is the keynote speaker. We couldn't book Schwarzenegger.
That's fantastic.
They're doing a sequel to that, by the way.
Are they?
Back. Yes.
Really? Oh.
They are.
Triplets. Where they find out they're related to Tracy Morgan.
Wait, are you joking or is that serious?
Serious.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
And it was originally supposed to be Eddie Murphy, which would have been, I mean, I love Tracy Morgan, but that would have been something else.
Oh my God, you are totally right. It is coming out in is it coming out in 22?
I don't think they've even started filming yet.
They might have, but they could just say this is when it's due out. It's not like
they're going to start production in January for triplets.
I mean, it's not like you need
That's
really
awesome.
big, special effects for this one. Just throw them together in the room. Yo, Tracy Morgan. I mean, anyway.
That's great.
That was a bad Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, that wasn't very good, but we can move on.
No,
Just your twin brother did that, not you.
Hold on, I'll be right back. My brother's calling. Anyway, back to we digress. Any more thought on Casino Royale?
Well, no, I think I mean what I said earlier about it just being a nice pitchfork, like a fork in the road. They took a different direction with this movie, and then it sort of set up what the rest of those Daniel Craig films were. I'm actually kind of sad to see him be finished with it, because he is like Connor and I think are on the same page about. I don't know how you guys feel, but he's my favorite Bond. I know there's some recency effect there where it just because it's the one I've seen the most, or the movies I've seen the most, and they are the most recent, that maybe that plays into it for me. But I think the nature of the character, him being as flawed as he was, but also in a lot of ways, there's still that Bond confidence, debonair sort of, like there's as much of a foul up as he is, he's also pretty smooth, which is there's more layers to this Bond and this character. So for me, he's absolutely my favorite.
I will say he does get the strongest scripts for his 5 films.
Yeah.
I mean, next one, Quantum of Solace is not terrible by any means. Certainly not as bad as some of the stinkers that we've seen previously. And Inspector, following up Skyfall, is a bit of a disappointment because it starts so strong and then it loses its mojo halfway through.
Yeah.
But Daniel Craig gets a lot of good material to work with. Also, considering that he had a lot of say-so in what was happening with that character, what happened, the motivations. There's that scene in Casino Royale when Vesper, after they've survived the attack from the not the Ghanan, I forgot where they were from, the
Somalian guys.
The Somalian guys.
Oh yeah, in the hotel.
Oh yeah, the warlord.
Hotel.
Right.
And Vesper has pretty much contributed to the death of a person that she never thought she would have to do, and she's kind of traumatized by it. And she's in, Bond walks in after playing another how many hands of poker to find her in the shower, just soaking herself in the shower in her dress.
Yeah.
And apparently the script originally called for her to be naked in the shower doing that. And Daniel Craig said, no, that wouldn't work. That if Vesper was going through like PTSD, like if she was going through a traumatic experience like that, she wouldn't take her clothes off before going in the shower. She would just go right in there, turn the shower on and sit in it. And that was Craig kind of like executive producing the movie, saying, no, this is what would happen in this story. And they listened to him. They didn't go, no, this is what it's in the script. You need to do what's in the script. They listened to him and they changed it. And if you ask me, makes that scene that much more powerful.
Yeah. And what he does is he gets in too with his clothes on. He's got his Tom Ford suit, and he doesn't have the jacket on, but he sits down right next to her. And he's like, hey, I'm in this with you, which I think is very cool. And you're talking about him having input. You two guys can attest to, or this from the movies previous. Like, I'm assuming Sean Connery had a lot of say in what happened in some of the Bond movies, and maybe lines or stuff they did. I'm sure he did, because he had clout at that time. I'm assuming that some of the other subsequent Bonds had that, but I know that Craig, like the moment you're talking about, and I know there were times along the way in the next several movies where he had a lot of input. And this is really stupid, but I'm into watches. I like watches, and I kind of got into Omega watches because of the first. I got one on right now, actually. There's the Bond. It's the Brosnan. Oh gosh, I think it's GoldenEye. He's got this blue Omega, and it's called a Seamaster. So he wears that in a few different films. This last film, the watch he's wearing in that, like and I know it's not the movie studio, but it's him telling Omega what he wanted. He helped them design that thing. Like, they made a watch with his input, and it's very cool. So like, if you've seen the movie, you'll see flashes of it, and it's great. But he had a ton of input, like how they built the thing. They like, it's made of titanium. It's very light. It's not flashy because he's like, hey, if I'm in the field, I want something light, something that's not going to reflect light off of it if I'm trying to be subdued. So I think it's a very cool thing that this person, by the time we got to the end of his movie run, he had all of this input on all of these very different parts of the movie. I think that's great.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the ways they incentivized him to keep coming back.
Yeah.
Is to give him that, like, the producer credit and give him more and more creative control as his tenure went on for as long as it went.
Brad Hansen chiming in with another great point. Another Craig producing moment in Casino Royale was dismissing dozens of extras in the dinner casino scene after he wins the game to make it more intimate. Yeah, remember at the very end, but it's just he and Vesper sitting at the table.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the restaurant's like kind of empty.
Yeah.
Because you know, there's probably like been a really long night, and he's won, but now he wants to just
He's famished.
I want to eat, and yeah, just the two of them. So you don't have like all the chatter of other people around them. That it is a good call.
Yeah.
So you can see that, you know, Craig really had a lot of insight into not only what works in as far as his own performance, but what would work in a scene.
Right.
And I will say, Daniel Craig, I've gotten to have a tremendous appreciation of his, not only during the whole Bond things, but all the other movies that he's done in the meantime. Like let's talk about
Knives Out.
Knives Out. Dave's wearing the Knives Out sweater now. Such a great character that he's created that you wouldn't expect Daniel Craig to play.
Yep.
And you can, I'm pretty sure that he and Rian Johnson have that bit of a relationship too, where it's like, you know, they think, oh, I can play it like this, let's do it like that, you know.
Have either of you guys seen Logan Lucky?
I haven't. I've heard that's really good though.
It's fantastic. It's Steven Soderbergh, so it's a heist movie. It's I've described it as Ocean's 11 with rednecks. If that's enough to pull you in, I think you'll enjoy it. He plays a guy, Daniel Craig's in it. He plays an explosive expert named Joe Bang, who has another Southern accent, kind of like how he does in Knives Out. And so I'd come to the realization, any movie he's in outside of Bond, he needs to have like a Southern drawl or like a Florida.
I think, have I seen this?
I definitely got to see that movie because I'm the same way with you, Dave. I kind of like the way he kind of plays different characters. He got one of the movies he got shortly after his first Bond was the Golden Compass series, right? And he's Azrael in the Gold or whatever his name is, something like that in the Golden Compass series. And the movie was trash, but there were a couple of performances in it that were good. You know, like the girl is fantastic and she's gone on to do greater things. And he's really good in it too, in ways that, like, you know, you see franchises try and start like this, and they grab actors like Kidman or Daniel Craig, and they get handed lines that are just, they're really tough, you know, to like Natalie any line Natalie Portman has to say in the prequels is just it's hot garbage, and you're giving it to this great actress who can't do anything with it, and you're just like, okay, well, good luck. And Craig manages to pull you through most of that movie, I think. The guy really does have it kind of working on all fronts.
Yeah, and he's got great comedic chops too.
Yeah, he does. He's got good timing. He's funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like him.
If you watch the SNL that he hosted that happened before the pandemic, which was supposed to be the SNL that came right before the release of No Time to Die, he does a James Bond skit in the very beginning. It's like an SNL digital short. And it's him as Bond, and he goes from being in character to kind of being out of being Bond, but a comedic Bond.
I don't know if I've seen this one either.
I'll watch it for sure.
Yeah.
It works so well. I mean, by the end, you're dying, and it just again gave me that much more of appreciation for Daniel Craig.
Well, even in the torture scene, I mean, he's given one-liners to Le Chiffre. and he's making it work, and it's not they aren't one-liners that are so corny like some of the older Bonds, which, you know, corniness has its place in this franchise. I think we all, you know, like Thunderball, like I think we know corniness is almost a character in these, but he sells them as this, like, under duress, MI6 agent who's been trained to give these kind of responses so as to keep his mind off the actual destruction of his balls, as opposed to really kind of focusing on what needs to happen here.
Yeah. He also did a great West Virginia. Yeah, Logan Lucky. Yeah. It's got Adam Driver, I believe, is in it.
Yes.
Elvis granddaughter.
Channing Tatum's in it. I looked it up, and I have not seen it. I thought that I might have, but that might be the thing I do when this is over, is watch Logan Lucky. I had a coffee tonight, so I'll be up till 4.
Yeah,
so.
could shove another cup of coffee and watch that.
I got time to watch Logan Lucky.
It was a movie that was like very well reviewed, from what I recall, but nobody went to see it because it just got like the promotions for it were really weak. But all the reviews were great. Really fun movie.
And you've got a collection of actors people like, so I'm surprised it didn't do well.
Yeah.
Because I like all those people. I like Adam Driver. I like Daniel Craig. I even like Channing Tatum. And the thing that did it for me with Tatum was when he did 21 Jump Street. He's great in that.
Yeah,
like he's
legit. He's good in Hail Caesar too.
I haven't seen that one.
It's that extra moment. Like if you weren't sold on Channing Tatum being cool after 21 Jump Street, which I just saw for the first time like 2 weeks ago, you watch this and you're like, oh yeah, he can do it. Yeah. I get it. I get it. It's pretty cool.
He's funny.
Yeah.
He is very good in that. And Soderbergh. Go on, Dave.
So Daniel Craig also did a great sketch on Colbert, where it's a Bond spoof and he's at like a bar ordering all these ridiculous drinks, but in like with the Bond like deadpan, very serious. And the one that cracked me up was he says, "I'll have a Capri Sun and poke it extra hard."
Great.
Doesn't Craig do a thing with Colbert where he goes in to rent a car?
Yeah. He does that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
It might have been the same sketch. Yeah.
Okay, because I remember in Colbert's playing the part of the agent who's not very helpful, and Bond just needs a car to get away. Which I don't think Colbert's part's all that funny, but Daniel Craig doing it is like he's and I think there's something, I don't know, for me, I don't know how you guys feel, but there's about a person who I know he's done a lot of other stuff, but primarily I know him being James Bond, and when you see James Bond be funny in a sketch, it's just appealing. There's something more appealing to it. Like, here's this guy who plays a total badass, this overconfident, complete badass who could kill you very easily, and now he's being funny. Like, I think it's even more intriguing when he does stuff like that.
And I think specifically with Daniel Craig, because his Bond, more than any of the others, is so kind of intense and hard-edged.
Yeah,
I agree with you. Yeah,
humor. So it works so much more.
Yep.
Yeah, because if Pierce Brosnan is doing it, you're like, yeah, of course, it's Pierce Brosnan. He can be funny. That's not be funny.
Get it, Mamma Mia. Of course he can do this.
Yeah. It's Mrs. Doubtfire's boyfriend, or the whatever, the boyfriend of Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah, of course he's funny.
And Pierce had an SNL appearance.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm trying. There's one sketch where I'm seeing him delivering a line, but I can't remember the sketch. I don't know if he was any good in it. But I know he's in it before. Did Connery ever host an SNL?
No, but in the Brosnan hosted one, in the opening monologue, Daryl Hammond comes out as Sean
Connery. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
You think you're Bond?
Yeah. Oh, I remember the sketch. So Brosnan goes in for a job interview, and Will Ferrell's the boss interviewing him. And Will Ferrell is just a complete asshole to everybody in the office. Do you remember this sketch? And like the end of the sketch, he ends up killing one of his employees with a trident in front of Pierce Brosnan in the middle of the interview. And he's like, I don't think I want to work here. It's such a great sketch. Yeah.
I gotta watch that.
You do not talk to me. I am the boss. Like it's just so over the top. Oh my God! Go find that sketch too. This is on your list of things to go watch tonight. The
I'm
James
making a list.
Bond sketch, the Pierce Brosnan, Will Ferrell boss sketch is also great.
That sounds like a Will Ferrell sketch for sure. Just
it's
going beyond ridiculous. That Hertz rent-a-car scene that you referenced, Chris.
The Colbert, yeah.
The Colbert. There's the part that I really like is when Craig grabs Colbert like he's as Bond. He's kind of had it, and he's gonna shake the life out of this dude. But he has to like turn away from the camera because he's starting to laugh.
Yes,
as he's got Colbert, and Colbert's like also trying not to break.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that! He's roughing her up, and he's still laughing.
Amazing.
Oh my! Going forward, since we're talking about it, not only should we've already talked about who do you think should be Bond, who should direct the next Bond film? I've thrown out Chris Nolan.
The first person I thought of was Chris Nolan. Yeah.
Chris Nolan is making Bond films of his own all the time. With Tenet and Inception.
There's even some Bondian elements to his Batman movies.
Yep.
Yeah.
The whole scene where he goes to Korea and or whatever that is, and he extradites the guy, and it's a total Bond sequence.
The Skyhook.
Oh yeah, where he blows up the side of the building, and yeah.
Right.
I mean, Batman is America's James Bond. I mean, if you want to come up with the American parallel, as well known, as popular, you can cast. Go through how many people playing him in movies. That's got to be James Bond. I think it's got to be Batman.
Yeah.
And I've also thrown out Spielberg, but I don't think anyone will ever go for a Spielberg James Bond movie, even though he said he's always wanted to do one.
As long as it's not Michael Bay. Is he dead? Because I don't feel like we've seen has there been a Michael Bay movie in a while?
Yeah, Transformers 57 is coming out.
Oh God, those
next month, and then 58 comes out the month after that. Jeez. So we got a couple.
That's the only one I care. Michael Bay movies are ass. So as long as he doesn't direct anything, then I'm fine.
Yeah,
we actually talked about a Michael Bay movie on this podcast a few weeks ago, right, Elliott?
Yes, The Rock.
Oh God, The Rock is so bad.
It's awful. It's absolutely awful.
So bad.
It's so bad. It's good though.
It's like the you were talking about corn. Like, man, there are corny Bond lines, but we get it. Yeah. Like, I think these corny Michael Bay lines, I don't think he knows that they're bad. I think he thinks people are going to think this is awesome. When I have,
did you guys talk about?
You're the Rocket Man. Oh, that's you. You're the what is that? Oh my God, that movie sucks.
Did you guys talk about The Rock?
But I'll watch it.
Because of the fan fiction theory that Sean Connery's character in The Rock is actually a Bond that has. Okay, great, awesome, fantastic. That's wonderful. That's the only redeeming thing about the only fun thing about that movie at all.
I never even thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Connery does carry the movie for the most part. I mean, anytime he appears, he's great. I mean, so that's the only reason why I enjoyed it.
It's the only answer to name a movie Ed Harris has been in that's bad. The only answer is The Rock. Everything else he's in is good. And if anybody says The Abyss is a bad movie, I'm coming after you. Like, you're just wrong. You're just wrong.
I haven't seen The Abyss in a long time.
It's really good. It's really long. It's like you haven't had enough coffee yet to watch The Abyss.
Okay. I mean, I just watched Apollo 13 the other day. That was
Ed Harris. Fantastic.
Great. Yeah, he's great.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Chris, The Abyss is like this. I mean, it's like a joke that keeps getting repeated over and over again. That it's not funny, but you repeat it over and over again until it gets funny again. That's The Abyss. The movie just keeps. It's good, and then it gets bad, but then it keeps going and going and going until it gets good again. And then you're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Maybe I haven't seen
long
it.
Stretch in the middle.
There's the last 20 minutes where you're just going like, these sons of bitches can't do it again. They can't make it good again, can they? And then they do. And then they do in the last 10 minutes. They bring her on home.
Do you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of there's a movie called Leviathan from like the late 80s. And for some reason, I get these two movies mixed up all the time. And it's like, I'm pretty sure it's like a deep sea sort of movie. Isn't that what The Abyss is about?
Yeah.
Leviathan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when Dante's Peak and Volcano came out at the same time.
You know why? They came out. Those two movies came out the same year. Abyss and Leviathan came out same year. That's why I confuse them.
And then you had Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Oh yeah.
Also came out same time. It's like
And
Hollywood.
Armageddon's a Michael Bay also, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. That's
yes,
why there's
it
some
is.
like the dramatic zoom in close-ups. Enough with these, Michael. God, he's the worst.
Yeah,
Just
bad.
the worst.
Well, I guess you're not getting cast in a Michael Bay
No,
movie.
never. Like you know what it is? Like his movies, I know he's making films for people with attention deficit disorder. Like everything is constantly moving all the time. Camera's never still. It's always moving in some direction, forward, backward, sideways, up, down, whatever. It's always moving because he doesn't trust people to sit still for an hour and 45 minutes.
It's even his later work, his late work is even better because the camera's already moving on a computer generated robot. Like
Yeah, right.
Like it's not even an actor that's standing still. Like you could make the robot move, man. It's up to you. It's not a real thing. It's like the dragon earlier. It's not real. You do whatever you want.
The dragon's fine.
Oh, it's a callback, Chris. Hang in there.
The dragon is fine. It's a mystical thing living in a lake in a magical place where people have superpowers.
Right.
Okay. Well, of all the things I would never expect, having Chris Rongey come out in defense of the dragon in Shang-Chi, it's
I don't know why you guys hate the dragon so much.
It's not that I hated it. It just seemed kind of shoehorned in there. You know, it's kind of like, now we need to have the big. Okay, did you see Black Widow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Talk about all the Bond references in that. But again, every Marvel movie has to end with shit falling out of the sky now.
Right.
Everything's falling out of the sky.
Well, yeah, it has to. That's fine.
But again, and then it's like, then I just saw Black Widow. Everything was falling out of the sky in Black Widow. I see Shang-Chi. It's just falling out of the sky in Shang-Chi. What's
here's
next?
why it's okay. Because the Marvel movies and the Black Widow is a perfect example of they know what they're doing. That part where her sister is making fun of her for the hair flip move,
the superhero landing thing. Yeah.
Like that's because every time that would happen in a previous movie, I'd be like, why does she always do this stupid move? Like it's so I hate it. And the fact they addressed it is just it's so great. I love that they did that they totally made fun of it.
There's parts of that. There's little elements of that in Casino Royale, whether it's like nod or hat tip or homage, whatever you want to call it. Like
old Bond films. Yeah.
Right. The fact that he orders a drink that's not a vodka martini shaken, not stirred. Right. The fact that they do the line with Vesper on the train. I'm the money, every penny of it. Right. But Money Penny's not in the movie.
Right.
The last suit he's wearing where he shoots Mr. White, it's like almost the exact same suit Connery's wearing, the gray suit in Dr. No. It's just a different color and a slightly different cut. But it's, damn it, that's the same cut of suit. There's a whole bunch of things in that movie that do that kind of hat tip thing that I really like in like what would you call it? Like franchise films like this.
Right.
And I get that it can get over the top at times. And maybe it does in other movies and in other places. I don't think it does in Casino Royale. And I really enjoyed that kind of like, that nod to stuff. Even when the Aston Martin comes up, he's driving a Ford Camry or something like that on the way.
Like to the
Those aren't the same
resort.
things.
Yeah.
But he's driving a Ford up to the thing, and it's like, all right, this is a low spot for Mr. Bond. This is rough.
I'm right there with you.
That's probably not even a stick shift. That's probably an automatic.
If you are able to call back to something and make fun of it, which he does, with the drink order thing, which is probably to me the most notable part of what we're talking about. It's the most notable thing that happens in Casino Royale, where he orders the drink and the bartender specifically says, "You want it shaken or stirred?" And he said, "Look like I give a shit," or whatever he says. That's perfect. We talked about it earlier. Like that stands out. And I like that they as we talked about them taking the turn with this film with a different actor, and that was a signifier that this is a different Bond. Like this guy's going to be completely different than anything else you've seen before. So I love that they called back to those things and were able to build on them. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I will say though, you talk about the Ford that kind of watching, like, oh, that's right. He drove a Ford there in the beginning. There was so much product placement in this film.
There's a Kia in the background, I think, at one point. Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah, like that part where he pulls up to the resort, gets out in that stupid car. There's like a Kia parked right behind him.
Oh, and there's another part. Okay, so he pulls into the resort, right? And the dude flips him the key.
Yes.
That dude's wearing the Goldfinger hat. Like, there's another. Like, tell me that guy, that fat white dude wearing the Argyle sweater, that's a Goldfinger tip. Like, that's totally what that guy's supposed to look like. Like, come on.
There was a really stupid fan theory at the time this movie came out that guy was going to become Goldfinger in a later Daniel Craig.
Oh God!
This non-union actor is billed for success
with a German accent. Yeah,
there are times where I don't pick up on details, and I have to admit that when I saw it, when he takes the guy's car and then he parks it and wrecks it, whatever, and then later on, he's in the bar and he orders the drink right next to him. And that guy stares him down. I'm like, why did that dude just stare him down? And then I had to go back and look. I'm like, oh, it's the guy with the car. Okay, that's why. Because he says something to him in German. Because I think the guys are talking German, speaking German.
Yeah.
Craig says some word to them in German. I don't know what the word is, but and then he walks away and I'm like, what did he just say to them? Like, why did they have such a reaction? And then I realized, oh, that's the guy who effed up his car. Okay, I get it.
His Range Rover.
Yeah.
Right.
And that he had that I forgot what model phone he was using the GPS on, which we're talking talk about
Nokia.
Was it a Nokia?
Might have been.
And that baby, I mean, it was like a regular handheld that had some incredible graphics that even predated Google Maps and Waze.
Yeah.
Like, wow. That GPS was sweet. It was following him. It was making it down the coast.
Hey, real quick, guys, this sidebar. Have you ever noticed that computers in every movie always make boops and beeps and bops? Like every time there's like a thing where a computer on the screen is processing something, it's always going like beep, 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 beep. You ever notice that? When computers don't actually do that? Well, pay attention. Pay attention to any kind of action movie, and they're like in the they're in the room, the control room, and they're like, oh, let's analyze, and the thing's analyzing something. It's constantly making computer noises. Like it's like some action trope. It happens in every movie. Watch out for it. Now it's going to annoy you, and you'll be like, holy shit, that's right. It happens every time.
Chris, did you ever notice that every bomb always has a countdown clock on it?
Everyone. We can't. Yeah. We gotta.
If I were the villain, I'd be like, I don't want anyone to know how long this thing's
how long they have left. Correct.
I just want to
right. Another
which brings me to the point about in the very beginning with the parkour scene where Bond is chasing the bomb maker through all that, and then he finally gets the guy, gets his backpack, and he pulls out 2 sticks of C4 and a bomb. I'm like going, the whole time he was chasing this dude and shooting at him, he had a bomb in his backpack.
Yeah.
I was waiting for Bond to go, oh.
And that's a good point because they always tell you never shoot at bombs.
Don't.
Yeah, it's.
I kind of like the idea that
might explode. What?
Well, they could explode. I kind of like the idea that even Bond villains have OSHA officers they have to worry about, right? Like, I need a bomb that can blow up the entire West Coast. Well, it has to have a countdown on it, Doctor. Otherwise, the union's really gonna screw us over here, and we can only use union guys on a bomb. And think about the factory workers that you have just thrown into the lake of man-eating fish. But think about those guys; they got families.
Yeah.
We've talked about this on earlier episodes where why would anyone want to work for Spectre? Anyone working for Spectre would ever go to one of those meetings where when you're sitting at the table and they're going through what you did right and where you screwed up, because the chair you're in is going to drop you into a pit of sharks or into a fiery, into the volcano that it just happens to be sitting over. And I'd be like, did anyone get the memo about this? That there was going to be, dropping into the volcano at this meeting? I mean, has anyone talked to HR about this?
No.
Where is number 2? He's never at these meetings. He has to pick his kid up on Tuesdays, so he can't He's never this. He's zooming in on this one.
He's smart. He's a smart fella. And I always say Hank Scorpio, though. That's one that we talked about on the show. The Simpsons episode, You Only Move Twice. I say Hank Scorpio, best Bond villain, unofficially, and also best boss. I mean, I would work for Hank Scorpio. I mean, sure, he wants to take over the East Coast. Big deal. I mean, we're talking paid family leave, housing. You know, my wife has got a self-cleaning oven. You know, the housework is minimal. My kids get to go to private school, charter schools. I can't complain there.
No, really you can't. You know what, guys? I can't wait until you get to. I think it's Skyfall. Skyfall's the one with Javier Bardem, right?
Yes.
I need you to address the face, his implant, like his removable implant to his face.
Yeah.
Just completely unrealistic. It makes me angry. So I can't wait to hear you guys address that in an episode or two.
I like that whenever they have a Bond villain that has some sort of weird, creepy deformity.
Yeah.
And that's very much like a Fleming thing in the original books. Or like with Le Chiffre with the
bleeding eye. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't occur though in Quantum of Solace to my recollection.
He's one of the more forgettable villains. Dominic Green. He has a forgettable name.
Yeah, I actually started watching it because it came up automatically on Amazon when I finished Casino Royale, and I was on such a high. I'm like, yeah, let's watch the first few minutes of Quantum of Solace, and opening sequence is great. And then when we actually get to the villains, I'm like, okay, there we go.
Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, and there was recently an article, not sure what site, where they were kind of criticizing that bit about the Bond villains. I mean, a different deformity or whatever, how that's kind of a bit problematic now, making people who might have certain similar deformities, making it seem like they're supposed to be evil when it's, So that's something that they might be talking about moving forward in the new Bond films.
Chris, you said the thing about the trope of computer sound effects that never actually happen. The thing that always bugs me, kind of unrelated, but it's another thing that happens in movies that never happens in real life. You ever notice in movies when characters are eating Chinese food, the boxes have that red pagoda design on the box?
Right.
I've never gotten Chinese food in my life that
no, it used to be that way. Yeah, if probably in the 90s or in the 80s, a lot of Chinese food containers had that.
But even
used to be a thing.
Modern movies have that.
Right.
But I've always just had the plain white box. Never
and
had
everybody's using the chopsticks in the movie.
Yeah,
let's be honest, Americans are not using the chopsticks. They're too lazy.
Yes.
I got about 2 bites in me before I realize I'm not fast enough, and I want to eat the Chinese food faster than I can.
A lot faster than this. I give me the shovel. We invented a shovel for a reason. A mouth shovel.
I ordered a giant thing of Kung Pao chicken so that I could eat it slowly tonight.
Yeah, right. Come on.
That's what I did.
Yeah. What's up? I mean, what are we doing here?
Chris, to address, Mark Premiano says the face implant is way more medically sound than the nonsense defibrillator in this movie.
I don't know. Maybe that's a new technology, the defibrillator.
I read about this. There's something, and I figured Mark would chime in on this one too. There's apparently a defibrillator does not restart your heart. It just keeps it going or something. I don't know which. But yeah, I kind of figured that would be a thing. Although I like that, and this goes back to the homage part, right? He gets into this car, he walks into the hotel. I believe you have a parcel for me. And then they just hand him the parcel without even asking him his name, because it's clearly only this guy came in with a different reservation. Was no, I'm Bond, don't worry about it. Looked around to make sure everyone heard him.
You really bring the plot to a halt if he asks for an ID,
Right. I'm sorry. Can you check your room key? Because we checked, there's a gun in here. So we're a little worried about what else might be in the package. But then he hits the glove box, right? And then he's walking to this great car, and you're like, all right, cool. He's getting his awesome car again. I hope there's some cool shit. And he presses the button, and there's the defibrillator. And he presses the other button, there's the gun with the silencer and everything. You're like, all right, yeah. Here we go. Now we're feeling Bondy. Let's do this whole thing. Let's roll.
Yeah.
I love the fact there's the defibrillator there, because then when it pops out, I go, oh well, he's gonna have a heart attack at some point in this movie. Like otherwise they wouldn't show you that.
Right.
Like,
It's
there for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay, it's gonna have a heart attack. Cool.
That's the thing. Mark
Never
just put
seen-
it up there. Yep. See?
Okay.
They don't restart your heart, and that's the thing doctors see in movies every time. Chris and I will both tell you that if we see a movie where radio is being done in the movie or in television,
Yeah.
if that person's not wearing headphones, it drives me insane.
Yeah.
No one has ever done radio without headphones in the history of professional radio. It's never happened.
No, you can't do it.
Well,
It's
Terry
impossible.
did it probably.
Terry probably did. Yeah.
Unless you're in a
You do whatever you
studio,
wanted.
unless you're in a studio where the engineer forgot to stock everybody headphones, and the only pair of headphones that are there are like all janky, and you don't want to put them over your head, so you'll just listen to the studio speaker in case someone's calling in, and
And maybe
That
they
is a
used to-
really tough way to do radio.
yeah, it is.
It is. And honestly, maybe it used to happen in the past, but nobody in the last 20 years starts off a broadcast with "coming to you live." Nobody ever effing says that ever. But in every movie, they say "coming to you live from somewhere," like every fucking time. I hate it so. Can I say that? I'm sorry. Am I allowed to?
You're talking just about radio?
Yeah, like any broadcasting, radio, any kind of. There's always a reporter coming to you live from somewhere.
Hawk used to say that.
Hawk?
Yeah.
Well, I think Hawk learned it from watching movies, for being honest. Yeah.
Yeah, Walker Texas Ranger does that a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And I guess
That's what he loves, Walker Texas Ranger.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, so we interviewed him, my show in St. Louis, like, I don't know, a few years ago. And, I'm like, hey, Hawk, what are you up to? Because he was, just retired. What are you up to? He's like, oh, I'm watching Walker Texas Ranger right now. Like, that's what he was doing in the moment when we called him.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
He loves that show.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to John Clark, who did the Shaken Not Heard theme song. For those of you who missed it, hold on. So you notice what it said in the very beginning, Rongey?
What? Did it say no swearing? Did it say no swearing? I'm sorry.
You just tune out. When the camera's not on you, we're not talking to you. You just tune right out.
No,
That's the other thing about radio. That's the other thing about radio. Whenever anyone plays something recorded, everyone tunes out.
That's true. No, but I was concentrating. Like I'm distracted by the part that says this is the podcast nobody listens to, which I thought was really fun. I don't know.
It's very funny.
Well, the part before it, live from Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Man, you are so hard to set up on a joke. I swear to God.
I didn't realize that's what you were doing.
That's okay.
I think live. It's not like live. It's like coming to you live. Like it's that specific. Coming to you live. Like,
I like the idea that like the reporter would be outside the Godzilla disaster recorded.
Yes.
Like, swarms of bees are descending upon the city. Let's go to Mark from 4 hours ago. It's like that. Why would we do that?
I don't know, man. I wish they'd stop though.
Oh my God. All right. Well, I don't know where we can go from here. We've got swarms of bees and Godzilla attacking. Next week, we'll be talking about A Quantum of Solace, which is kind of, I don't know. Chris, Connor, have you guys seen that one recently?
Not recently. I think it's the only one that I've seen once, like of the Craig movies.
Yeah.
It's the only one of the 5, I guess now.
Yeah.
Well, the new one I haven't seen at all, but the other ones I've only seen, I've seen multiple times. This is the only one I've seen once.
I remember I went to go see Casino Royale with my dad when it came out in theaters. We were both really geeked up to go see it. I was living with my parents at the time. I was teaching high school. It was one of my first jobs out of college. And we liked it so much, Casino Royale, that we went back the next night to watch it again. We saw it 2 nights in a row. So because we liked it that much, we both went to go see Quantum of Solace together. And I remember us both walking out of the theater going, we got screwed on that one, man. That did not do the thing that we wanted it to do. That was not great.
That's not good. Yeah.
Nah.
I'm going to go watch it anyway, just to kind of, freshen up and see what I think of it.
Well, Elliott, you said the first couple minutes were really so. I watched Casino Royale again today, and then it suggested that I watch Quantum of Solace and not Bridgerton for the first time in like 6 weeks. It was really nice to have my own Netflix account back. That's neither here nor there. Why are the first 15 minutes are good?
It picks up right where Casino Royale leaves off. There's a big car chase in the very beginning because every Bond movie's got to have a car chase.
Yeah,
and it's just one long extended bit, and it's I think it's kind of all of the best part of the movie, because then after that the movie is really uneven. The film itself was affected because the writers, the screen actors, the Writers Guild of America went on strike in the middle of that, so there was no screenwriter. Mark Forster and Daniel Craig essentially had to rewrite the script polishing themselves on the set as they were filming. So you can tell there are a lot of touches in there. It is a bit uneven. It feels way different from Casino Royale. So, but we'll be talking about that next week, and then seeing how that goes over. Where can we find you, gentlemen, you good gentlemen out there in media? Chris?
Well, I'm not doing anything right now, so no, I'm every now and then you can hear me on 670. Every now and then you can hear me on the BetQL network, and doing some stuff in St. Louis too for KMOX down here. So that's me, and I'm having coffee at night, and that's my life.
I've got to ask, well, what was St. Louis Cards fandom compared to White Sox fandom?
It's extremely different. I mean, there aren't as many. I don't want to say there aren't diehards, because there are diehards everywhere, but it's a different kind of diehard. The intensity here is not the same. The intensity with St. Louis is not the same as it is with Sox fans. I think they care as much, but like Sox fans, the way they care is different. You know what I mean? Like Connor can tell you, there's an intensity that doesn't exist like with a lot of teams like it does with Sox fans. And maybe it's just Chicago fans in general, but Sox fans, man, they care. And because I think they feel like they're a tribe, because they feel like a smaller fan base. It's it's forgotten a lot. That they feel like their team gets slighted a lot nationally. And so they'll lash out about that. And I think it just it makes them dig in a little bit more, which I miss it. I think it's, I like it. I like that it's like that. I wish Cardinals fans had a little bit more intensity like that. I guess it doesn't matter now because I don't really do anything down here in St. Louis, like with sports. So it doesn't matter to me. But when I kind of wish there was a little bit more intensity like that.
Interesting. I always heard Cardinals fans were like, there was like a religion to them down there.
I mean, it's important to them, obviously, but there's a little bit more. It's not everybody, but there's a little bit more of we'll get them next year kind of thing, like that kind of vibe.
Is there because Cardinals fandom is such a religion, it seems to me that there's more of a reverence toward the Cardinals in that fandom, whereas a White Sox fan will question anything and everything the team does while still being a self-proclaimed, professed, diehard White Sox fan.
That's correct. And but there are Cardinals fans like that who will challenge ownership, challenge the front office, challenge the manager. But I think there are more people who are just kind of like, well, didn't work out today. That's all right. We'll get them tomorrow. There's more of that. And some of it might be the fact they had a lot of success over the years. They've been good for a while. And
Did they? I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
No one ever tells me that they were good for like decades.
No, I know you grew up a Cubs fan. I know you know. Like
no one ever tells me that.
Yeah, no, it's like I appreciate people who are willing to at least criticize them, because just because they've been good in the past doesn't mean they can't continue to try to be good, and doesn't mean they're without fault. You can still do that. And Sox fans are not afraid. And I do love that about them, that they are just not afraid to tell you exactly what they think. Sometimes it's misguided, but a lot of times it's not.
What about Danks? Where's Danks?
I don't know. I think he's in Tennessee. I think he's in Nashville with his country singer wife.
I throwing that out there for the Sox
I know.
fans who were waiting. They were waiting.
People, yeah.
And if they hung around this long, you got to reward them.
Yeah. This podcast so far, let's see, we're 9 minutes short of. No, wait, we're 8 minutes short of how long Casino Royale was. So we're almost there.
Yeah. Connor, outside of White Sox pre and post game, where can folks find you?
On ESPN 1000. I'll actually, let's see, I'll do the morning show on Wednesday and Friday this week. And I think I'll be in on the afternoon show early in December. Subbing in just a little bit. The holidays are when the big guns take their vacations. Really, we should all take vacations around the holidays or whenever you want. But I'll be in a little bit over that. So you can tune in on ESPN 1000 and check us out there. Or on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @ChrisRongey, and you can find it.
That's mine too. So are you the one who writes my bad tweets?
Yeah, I just write the bad ones, and then you write the rest of them. @C1 McKnight is my Twitter handle.
And
evil twin.
And your Instagram too, right? Yeah.
I think so.
No.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's also it. That's right.
It's funny because when I go looking for you, there are so many Connor McKnights out there. It's like who knew?
There really are. So apparently there's the Red Dino Ranger, Connor McKnight. Mm-hmm. There is apparently a very like a hot shot up and coming fashion designer in New York named Connor McKnight. Really? I was talking with Joe. Yeah, I was talking with Joe Brand the other day, who is the Chicago Blackhawks pre and post game host on WGN.
Also a Redbird.
Wonderful human being, and also a Redbird.
Yeah.
He has an intern named Connor McKnight, which is weird.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of, and I told Joe there can be only one, so he's got to fix that. I guess it's up to him.
You're gonna have the Highlander that shit.
There can be only one.
Only one. And Dave?
I am on Instagram at @Pinto_Noir. And Chris, I wanted to let you know, Logan Lucky is on Hulu. If you have Hulu,
I looked it up. I'm ready to go. Like I'm assuming it's an uncensored version, right? Like, because I know some of the movies on Hulu, I think, are taken from the TV versions if they're airing on like TBS or something.
Yeah. Well,
so I'm assuming it's full.
They wouldn't cut much out anyway.
All right, good.
It's not like an R-rated movie or anything.
I hate TV versions.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of TV versions, really bad. If you ever want to see just an angering TV version of a movie, Pulp Fiction. Go watch the TV.
What's left?
It is unwatchable.
What's left of that movie on cable? My God.
Oh my God, I hate it so much. It makes me angry. Like and I watch it because it's on, but then I get mad at it the entire time it's on because of how much editing is done and the things they cut out. Like they won't even show the Gimp. They won't even show him. Like they completely cut him out of the frame. Like, is it really that upsetting? All the shit that's on TV, and we're upset with this guy in leather. Come on, leather and spikes.
Like when the Sopranos was on A&E for like in syndication. What could they have possibly have shown? Because they wasn't doing like TVMA stuff.
Yeah,
that
was an old Mad TV bit where the Sopranos on A&E, and they showed the episode. And it's just skip after skip after skip because they keep cutting everything out.
That's funny. Yeah,
that is good.
That's really good.
And for everybody who's been turning in, thank you so much for tuning in here on Facebook.com, Shaken Not Heard, for watching us on YouTube, youtube.com/c/Shaken Not Heard, as well as look up our Instagram. And if you would like to write to the show and give us your input, you send us an email at shakennotheard@gmail.com, where yet again, you can win a copy of a book from us. What are we giving? What am I giving away this time? I still have copies of Trigger Mortis. If you would like a copy of Trigger Mortis for your Amazon Kindle.
Trigger Mortis.
That's great.
That's the name of the book. It's a Bond book. Great title.
Awesome.
I think the biggest challenge, even greater than finding a new star and a new director for the next Bond movie, is going to be coming up with a title, because there are none out there. I cannot think of. It's like it's like that Monty Python bit where the band came up with the name Toad the Wet Sprocket because all the other band names were taken. It's going to be, where are you going to come up with a new James Bond title? I don't know.
Yeah, you could do the name generator. Isn't that how Post Malone got his performer name? Is that he used a rapper name generator?
But then you have to
seriously, I think he did. He went on one website that does the generator names for you, and that's how he got his name.
All right, there it is, right there. For a copy of Trigger Mortis, write to us at shakennotheard@gmail.com. Give me your best Bond title. Give me any Bond title, because I don't think they're out there. I don't think you can do it. You got to give me a brand new Bond title that hasn't been used before. You get a copy of Trigger Mortis. I have one in my pocket that I'm not sharing with anybody because I might use it at some point.
There is, by the way, a James Bond movie title generator on the web, so you can't use that.
The contest? I just want to hear it. No. Childish Gambino, Chris.
It was Childish Gambino. I think Post Malone did it too. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that sounds right.
Childish Gambino's good. But yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks, Susan. Thanks, Lehman. Thanks, Mark. Thank you all. And thank you, Chris and Connor, for spending this time with us. I got to say, first, it was great seeing you guys. I haven't seen you in so long. It was great just talking, kibitzing, laughing. You guys, as always, you know how to make me laugh. So I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Elliott.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being easy.
I'm like, you're like a Bond. You're like Bond, and I'm a girl.
I'm
just, it's your charming dick.
I'm the charming dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're saying A, right?
Yeah. A charming.
Right? We're saying A.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay. All right.
I have no idea how what's his face from SNL scored with Kim Kardashian, Pete Davidson. So he must.
How about Colin Jost with ScarJo?
See, I can almost see that. I can almost see that. He's arrogant and all that, and good looking, and buff. So I can kind of see that. Pete Davidson, I have no idea.
I don't get it, man.
He must be packing a python. I mean, it must be that.
But that can't even, it's still, I don't know. That can't be it. That can't be enough. It can't be enough. I don't know.
I don't know.
Hey,
I don't know
by the way, guys, we hit it. We hit the exact run time of Casino Royale. 2 hours, 24 minutes. We did it.
I love it.
And I'm pretty sure that if you sync up this podcast with Casino Royale,
it'll end right now.
Right.
No, we will actually start talking about Chris being a dick right when Mads Mikkelsen is hitting James Bond. In the wiener. In the wiener. So, all right, folks. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Hope you all have a wonderful night. We'll see you next week.
See y'all.